They say history is written by those who survive it. But what about the civilizations whose voices were buried beneath stone, shadow, and time? Scattered across remote valleys, hidden under dense forests, and carved into cliffs no one was meant to climb, stand the remnants of megaliths that defy simple explanation. Structures too precise for coincidence. Stones too massive for the technology we think they had. Alignments too exact to be accidental. For centuries, these monuments were dismissed as myths, misinterpreted as simple markers, or quietly omitted from the story we were taught. Yet they remain, silent, imposing, and undeniably real, challenging everything we believe we know about our ancient past. Who built them? Why were they hidden? And what knowledge vanished with the cultures that raised them? Tonight, we're going beyond the familiar ruins and tourist sites. We're stepping into the forgotten world of ancient engineers, astronomers, and visionaries whose creations still pulse with mystery. So settle in, stay curious, and follow me as we uncover the megaliths they never expected you to find. High in the rugged mountains of southeastern Turkey, where the clouds drag their shadows over ancient stone and the wind carries a chill untouched by time, rises Mount Nemrut, a summit unlike any other in the ancient world. At first glance, it appears as a colossal mound of loose rock, a strange, unnatural peak carved against the sky. But as one moves closer, the illusion dissolves. The stones shift into shapes, immense seated figures, fractured heads scattered across the terraces, and an eerie silence that hangs like something waiting to be remembered. This is the funerary monument of King Antiochus I of Commagene, constructed in the 1st century BCE. That, at least, is what the inscriptions tell us. Yet, even with this knowledge, the place feels older, far older than the kingdom that claimed it, its design hovering between Hellenistic ambition and something far more obscure. On the eastern and western terraces, the monumental statues sit in rigid formation, lions, eagles, and a pantheon that merges Greek and Persian deities into a single enigmatic lineage. Their faces, though weathered and decapitated by centuries of earthquakes, retain a serene, unmistakably human calm, as if watching both sunrise and sunset with equal indifference. Archaeologists have long marveled at the engineering required to construct such a sanctuary atop a mountain over 2,000 meters high. Millions of cubic feet of crushed rock were piled into a perfectly shaped tumulus, forming what many interpret as a royal tomb. But despite decades of investigation, no burial chamber has ever been found. Geophysical surveys have hinted at hollow spaces within the mound, yet Turkish authorities have restricted excavation, leaving the heart of Mount Nemrut untouched. Whether intentional or accidental, this absence of excavation has only deepened the mystery. Why build such an ambitious complex in so unreachable a place? Why risk the brutal cold of winter, the violent storms that batter the region, or the immense logistical burden of transporting statues weighing many tons? The official explanations point to royal vanity, a desire to immortalize a king who claimed descent from both Alexander the Great and Darius of Persia. In this reading, Mount Nemrut is a monumental expression of identity, an attempt to fuse cultures, bridge empires, and anchor a small kingdom within the mythic traditions of East and West. But as with all ancient structures that push the boundaries of their time, questions linger. Some scholars propose that Mount Nemrut served as more than a royal tomb. Its precise alignments, one terrace facing the rising sun at the solstice, the other aligned with the setting sun, suggest deliberate astronomical intent. Was this mountain a vast celestial observatory, calculating the movements of stars and seasons? Was the tumulus itself a symbolic mountain of creation, echoing cosmological beliefs long predating Commagene? Others look to the peculiar imagery carved throughout the site. The reliefs feature not only gods and kings, but also the lion horoscope, a carved lion adorned with 19 stars, a crescent moon, and 3 prominent planets. The meaning of this panel is still debated. Some believe it marks a coronation date. Others see it as a depiction of unusual celestial events. A few suggest the relief may encode a message we have yet to decipher, a record meant for future generations rather than contemporary subjects. The more speculative theories, while divergent, add layers of intrigue without straying outside the bounds of possibility. Could Antiochus have chosen this remote site because it already held sacred significance, perhaps tied to a much older culture that once revered the mountain? Some researchers note that building directly atop earlier sacred sites was a common ancient practice, a way of inheriting the power of the past. If earlier rituals did take place here, their traces may lie buried beneath the rubble of the tumulus, hidden beneath thousands of years of stone. There are also geological anomalies to consider. Some modern surveys have detected unusual density patterns beneath the summit, implying chambers or voids. Without excavation, their purpose, and even their existence, remains uncertain. Are these intentional cavities, structural artifacts, or natural formations? And if intentional, were they built as tombs, vaults, or places of ritual significance? The slope of the mountain offers few clues, and the stones keep their silence. Even the statues themselves raise questions. Decapitated by earthquakes, their giant heads now lie scattered as if toppled in a single moment frozen in time. Were they once part of a larger ceremonial narrative? Or were they meant to be separated from their bodies all along, a symbolic act, a deliberate expression of the king's attempt to transcend mortality? None of these mysteries provide definitive answers, yet they invite a slow, deliberate contemplation, one that mirrors the mood of the mountain itself. Mount Nemrut does not shout its history. It whispers it, scattering fragments across stone, myth, and sky. And so the mountaintop endures. Tourists arrive at dawn to watch the light spill across the statues, casting long shadows that shift like ancient memories. Scholars continue their debates. The wind continues its endless carving, and deep beneath the summit, whatever lies at the center of the tumulus remains undisturbed, protected by law, by rock, and perhaps by design. For now, all we can do is look, measure, and wonder. What secrets rest beneath the crushed stone? What rituals once echoed across these terraces? And why did a king, nearly forgotten by history, choose to leave behind a monument that feels as though it was built for someone far beyond his own time? The answers, if they exist, remain hidden within the mountain, waiting for the moment when they too decide to reveal themselves. As we move from the windswept heights of Mount Nemrut, our journey shifts quietly across continents, leaving behind the Anatolian peaks and descending into the vast green heart of South America. Here, the landscape changes, the air thickens, clouds drift low over jungled mountains, and ancient stone emerges not from volcanic summits, but from dense foliage and red earth. It is in this environment, tucked away in the eastern foothills of the Bolivian Andes, that another enigma waits, Samaipata Fortress, known locally as El Fuerte de Samaipata. At first glance, fortress seems an odd word. There are no towering walls, no battlements crowning the hills. Instead, the site greets visitors with a single monumental presence, a gigantic sandstone rock carved and shaped with extraordinary precision. Nearly 220 meters long, it rises from the surrounding terrain like the spine of some colossal creature. Its surface is incised with channels, steps, terraces, and geometric patterns that climb and twist toward its highest point. The scale is staggering. Standing before it, one senses not merely architecture but an entire worldview etched into stone. Archaeologists recognize Samaipata as a cultural crossroads. Over centuries, it passed through the hands of multiple civilizations. First the Mojocoyas, later the Chane, then the Inca, and finally the Spanish. Each left traces, each altered the site. Yet the origin of the great carved rock, its purpose, its meaning, remains far less certain. Mainstream interpretations describe Samaipata as a ceremonial center, a sacred space where rituals were performed beneath the open sky. The Incas, who occupied the site in the late 15th century, certainly adapted it for religious use. They carved niches, foundations, and additional structures on the southern slope. They brought their cosmology with them, aligning terraces to the sun and marking out precincts for worship. But even they treated the great rock with a certain awe. Its carvings, the deep channels, the grid-like patterns, the stairways leading nowhere, were already ancient by the time the Inca Empire expanded into the region. This raises the first question: who carved the original monument? And perhaps more importantly, why? Some of the earliest motifs, serpentine lines, felines, and stepped grooves, are attributed to the Chane people, whose beliefs intertwined nature, sky, and spirit. Yet the precision and scale of the carvings have prompted debate. The labyrinthine channels flow across the rock in fluid, continuous lines, as if shaped by a single architectural vision rather than generations of additions. Certain surfaces appear deliberately flattened, polished even, suggesting long-term planning rather than incremental modification. Was the rock a massive ritual stage, a celestial map, a symbolic mountain connecting earthly life with the realm of the gods? These are the kinds of questions that linger as one walks along the carved terraces. The patterns seem to guide the eye, encouraging a slow ascent toward the summit. From there, the surrounding landscape opens like an immense amphitheater, rolling hills, forests, and distant ridges forming a natural horizon in every direction. It is easy to imagine ceremonies unfolding here, dancers and priests moving along the stone lines as the sun rose or set, their actions blended with the vastness around them. But there are elements more puzzling. On the northern section of the rock lie rectangular pits cut with such precision that they resemble bases for vanished pillars or monuments. Their arrangement has no clear precedent in known regional architecture. Further down, a network of deep channels intersect at sharp angles, too straight and consistent to have been created through basic tools alone. Some researchers have speculated that water once flowed through these channels, perhaps in ritual purification or astronomical measurement. Yet, definitive evidence remains elusive. Samaipata also features a section known as the Triad of Niches, 3 perfectly carved recesses aligned with one another. Their purpose is unknown. Were they shrines, markers, points in an astronomical sequence? Each niche is smooth, uniform, and oddly timeless, further complicating attempts to date the original carvings. As in many ancient sites, the absence of written records leaves room for interpretation. Some fringe theories propose that Samaipata served as a vast astronomical observatory, its carved lines designed to track solstices, equinoxes, and planetary movements across the horizon. Others suggest the site acted as a territorial or spiritual boundary marker between early Andean cultures, a kind of sacred threshold. More speculative voices wonder whether the carved rock was part of a much older tradition, perhaps connected to pre-Inca ceremonial centers across the continent, from Tiwanaku to the enigmatic rockworks in Peru. There are even comparisons drawn, cautiously but intriguingly, to megalithic and rock-cut complexes around the world. The concept of carving a single massive stone into terraces and symbolic patterns is not unique to South America. Similar approaches appear in Petra, in parts of India, and in the rock sanctuaries of the Mediterranean. Could Samaipata be a local expression of a broader, ancient tradition? Or is this resemblance merely coincidence, the universal tendency of human cultures to transform landscape into meaning? While fringe theories explore these possibilities, archaeologists emphasize caution. Without textual evidence, interpretations must remain grounded in what can be observed and measured. Yet, even with the most conservative approach, Samaipata resists easy classification. Its creators left behind neither narrative nor blueprint. Only the stone remains, silent, enormous, and undeniably intentional. Standing near the summit of the carved rock, as the Andean clouds slide slowly across the sky, one feels a sense of invitation. The site seems designed not for spectacle, but for contemplation. The lines guide the feet. The forms guide the mind. Something about the rock's surface, with its sweeping cuts and cryptic motifs, suggests a message unfinished or forgotten. In the end, Samaipata leaves us with more questions than answers. What rituals once echoed across these carvings? What knowledge guided the hands that shaped this mountain of stone? And how many layers of history lie buried beneath the soil, still waiting to emerge into the light? For now, the fortress watches over the forests below, its mystery intact. An ancient monument carved with purpose, yet still refusing to reveal its full story. Leaving the rolling Andes behind, our journey takes us northward across continents, where the mountains rise once more, this time jagged and imposing, cloaked in the mist of the Caucasus. Here, in the highlands of western Georgia, lies another enigma, Shaori Fortress, a site whose name evokes both awe and quiet mystery. Unlike the vast ceremonial stones of South America, Shaori is carved into the rugged peaks themselves, a testament to human ambition amidst some of the most challenging terrain in the region. From a distance, the fortress appears almost to grow from the mountain, a labyrinth of terraces, walls, and megalithic blocks perched as if to challenge the sky. Approaching the site, one notices immediately the scale and precision of the construction. The stones, some weighing several tons, fit together with such care that even the smallest gaps seem deliberate. There is no mortar, yet the walls endure centuries of frost, wind, and earthquake. The pathways twist along steep slopes, leading to terraces that seem designed to defy gravity, offering panoramic views over valleys, rivers, and distant peaks. Every step across the fortress feels like walking through a frozen moment of ancient engineering, a dialogue between human determination and the raw power of nature. Scholars date Shaori to roughly the first millennium BCE, linking it to early Georgian tribal societies. Its strategic location is evident, an almost inaccessible position ideal for surveillance and defense. Yet this practical explanation seems insufficient. The fortress is not merely functional. It is monumental in a way that transcends military necessity. Its layout, with multiple layers of terraces, ramparts, and hidden chambers, suggests ceremonial or symbolic purposes, perhaps connected to religious or communal life. One of the most striking features is the megalithic walls themselves. Some blocks rise higher than a human, their edges carved with smooth precision. Certain stones bear incisions and grooves, enigmatic in design, hinting at techniques or knowledge that are now lost. Were these markings simply functional, or did they hold deeper meaning, astronomical, ritual, or even coded communication across the highlands? Scholars remain divided, as evidence is scarce, and the fortress has yielded few written records. Every mark on the stone seems to whisper questions rather than provide answers. Adding to the mystery is the fortress's apparent isolation. Unlike other settlements in the region, Shaori is perched far above any known trade routes, its location accessible only by steep, treacherous paths. Why would early communities invest immense resources to build here, in a place so remote, when easier terrain existed nearby? Some propose it was a sacred site, chosen for its proximity to the heavens, a place where earth and sky could meet in stone. Others suggest it functioned as a ceremonial center, a gathering point for tribal assemblies or seasonal rituals. Yet the precise nature of these gatherings, and the traditions that accompanied them, remains frustratingly elusive. Excavations have revealed evidence of habitation, hearths, pottery fragments, and tools carved from local stone. Yet these discoveries deepen the mystery rather than resolve it. The fortress does not appear to have been continuously occupied. Rather, it seems to have been used in cycles, perhaps aligning with specific celestial events or socio-political rituals. Could the builders have intended it to serve as a temporal anchor, a marker of time and season, rather than merely a fortress to repel invaders? Then there are the hidden chambers. Shaori is riddled with subterranean passages, some mere meters in length, others extending in uncharted directions. Their purpose is unclear. Were they storage spaces, shelters from attack, or sites for secret ceremonies? Modern technology has yet to fully map the underground network, leaving open the possibility of undiscovered chambers, silent witnesses to rituals and knowledge lost to time. Adding to the intrigue, local legends imbue Shaori with a sense of the supernatural. Villagers speak of the stones that hum and of strange lights appearing over the fortress on certain nights. These stories are anecdotal, yet they echo the experience of countless visitors who describe a profound sense of presence on the terraces, a feeling that the site itself watches, listens, or even communicates in ways we cannot fully comprehend. Could these tales be remnants of ancient belief systems, oral memories of practices long abandoned, or something altogether more mysterious? Some researchers have drawn connections between Shaori and other megalithic sites across Europe and the Near East. The fortress's layout, its megalithic masonry, and its combination of ceremonial and defensive elements echo patterns seen in early Mediterranean and Anatolian structures. Were these isolated societies independently developing similar methods, or did knowledge of construction techniques and sacred geometry travel across vast distances through trade, migration, or shared cosmology? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. What is clear, however, is the scale of ambition and vision required to create Shaori Fortress. It is a structure that demands attention, both for its physical magnitude and the mysteries embedded within its stone. The mountain's steep slopes, the precise masonry, the hidden passages, they all speak of an intelligence deeply attuned to both environment and symbolism. This was not a site built in haste. It was planned, measured, and executed with reverence for the landscape and for forces beyond the human eye. As the sun dips behind the Caucasus peaks, shadows stretch across the terraces, emphasizing the fortress's geometric patterns and fractured silhouettes. In the quiet, the wind moving through the high walls, it is easy to imagine the lives that once moved here, priests, warriors, travelers, each step echoing against the enduring stone. Yet for all its human imprint, Shaori keeps its ultimate purpose close to the chest. Its builders left no clear record, no key to unlock the full story. And so Shaori Fortress endures as it always has, a sentinel of stone overlooking valleys, rivers, and forests, keeping the secrets of its construction and use safely tucked within its walls. What inspired these early builders to carve such massive stones into terraces and labyrinthine passages? What ceremonies, knowledge, or power did they hope to preserve? And how much more of their story remains hidden beneath the stones, beneath the soil, and beneath the very mountains themselves? For now, the fortress watches silently, inviting us to ponder, to question, and to seek, not answers neatly packaged, but the wonder of discovery itself. From the misty mountains of the Caucasus, our journey now carries us across continents once more, this time to the sun-scorched plains of West Africa. Here, in the heart of Mali, a dramatic escarpment rises from the Sahel like a natural fortress, an ancient cliff stretching nearly 150 kilometers in length, its sheer sandstone walls etched with the traces of human habitation. This is the Bandiagara Escarpment, home to one of the most enigmatic and enduring examples of cliff dwellings ever constructed. At first glance, the cliffs appear impenetrable, their vertical faces broken only by the subtle patterns of erosion. But as one draws closer, a remarkable transformation occurs. Embedded within the sandstone are structures, homes, granaries, ceremonial spaces, woven seamlessly into the rock itself. The dwellings cling to ledges and recesses with a gravity-defying elegance, their mud brick walls and wooden beams still recognizable after centuries of wind, rain, and sun. Some terraces seem almost hidden, as if the builders intended them to remain invisible to casual observers. The entire escarpment gives the impression of a living monument, a city that grew organically from the very stone. Scholars date the settlement to the Telam people, who inhabited the cliffs roughly between the 11th and 15th centuries. The Telam were eventually displaced by the Dogon, who adopted the site and continue to maintain traditions connected to the escarpment to this day. Archaeological investigations have uncovered burial niches, pottery, and carved wooden artifacts, each bearing witness to a sophisticated society attuned to both the harsh environment and a rich spiritual life. Yet, much remains unexplained. Even the origin of the Telam, where they came from, how they developed such precise cliffside architecture, remains partially shrouded in mystery. One of the most remarkable aspects of Bandiagara is the interplay between natural and human-made forms. The sandstone itself is soft enough to carve yet resistant enough to endure centuries. The dwellings and granaries follow the contours of the cliffs, creating terraces and passageways that maximize stability, sunlight, and airflow. Some structures are surprisingly large, capable of sheltering dozens of people. Others are tiny, almost ceremonial, their purpose open to interpretation. Did these spaces serve as homes, defensive refuges, religious sites, or a combination of all three? The evidence suggests a complex, multi-layered use, yet the full logic of the site remains tantalizingly out of reach. The escarpment's verticality and remoteness suggest another layer of intent. Living high above the plains provided not only protection from invasion, but also an opportunity to control the surrounding land and monitor movement across vast distances. Some researchers have suggested that the Telam deliberately concealed certain sections, hiding granaries and shrines in deep recesses or behind natural ledges. Was this purely defensive, or did it have a spiritual component, a way of keeping certain knowledge and sacred practices separate from everyday life? The cliffs, in a way, become both guardian and enigma, protecting not just people but secrets. The architecture itself invites speculation. Wooden beams, many long since decayed, once projected from the cliff face, likely supporting scaffolds or platforms. Mud brick walls rise with remarkable stability, despite centuries of exposure to rain and sun. Archaeologists marvel at the combination of engineering skill and environmental adaptation. How did the Telam master construction in such unforgiving conditions? Was this the result of trial and error, or had knowledge been passed down over generations, perhaps originating from even older, now lost cultures? Adding to the mystery are the burial sites. The Telam placed their dead in niches within the cliff, sometimes hundreds of meters above the ground. Some skeletons were wrapped in cloth or mats, others accompanied by personal belongings. These burials are remarkably preserved, protected by the height and isolation of the cliffs. Yet they raise questions. Why invest such effort in placing the deceased so high above the living? Was it a belief in proximity to the heavens, a desire to separate the sacred from the mundane, or a more practical concern for protection from predators and thieves? Scholars can speculate, but certainty remains elusive. Local legends and Dogon oral traditions add layers of intrigue. The escarpment is not only a physical space, but a spiritual landscape. Certain ledges and caverns are believed to house ancestral spirits or act as points of connection between the living and the divine. These stories, while difficult to verify archaeologically, suggest that Bandiagara was more than a settlement. It was a center of cultural memory, a landscape shaped by belief as much as by necessity. Some fringe theories extend the mystery even further, proposing astronomical alignments and hidden knowledge encoded within the dwellings. Certain terraces and niches appear to correspond with solar or lunar events, a pattern that echoes similar alignments observed in megalithic sites worldwide. Were the Telem observing the sky with a precision we have yet to fully comprehend? Could the placement of homes and granaries contain symbolic meaning beyond the practical? These ideas remain speculative, yet they highlight the sophistication and possible hidden layers of purpose embedded in the cliff dwellings. Despite centuries of study, many sections of the escarpment remain unexplored. Narrow ledges, hidden recesses, and inaccessible overhangs have preserved artifacts and structures that may never be fully documented. Each new discovery adds context, but rarely solves the overarching mystery. How and why the Telem shaped such an extraordinary environment, blending survival, spirituality, and architecture in ways that continue to challenge our understanding. Standing on the terraces today, with the wind sweeping across the sandstone and the vast Sahel stretching to the horizon, one can feel the presence of those who came before. The cliffs speak of ingenuity, adaptation, and a profound sense of place. Yet they also provoke a deeper wonder. How much of their knowledge was lost when the Telem vanished from these heights? What stories, rituals, or wisdom remain hidden in the shadows of the rock? For now, the Bandiagara escarpment remains both a monument to human resilience and a guardian of secrets. Its dwellings, etched into the cliffs by hands long gone, invite us to ponder the ingenuity and intention behind every stone, every niche, every ledge. And as we gaze up at the vertical walls, it is impossible not to ask, how many mysteries are still waiting, tucked away in the inaccessible heights, for the day when their stories will finally emerge? From the sun-scorched cliffs of West Africa, our journey moves quietly northward and eastward, across seas and mountains to the sun-drenched plains of the Peloponnese in southern Greece. Here, amidst rolling hills and olive groves, sits a monument that has puzzled historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike for centuries: the Hellenikon Pyramid. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica, it is modest in scale, yet it carries a weight of mystery far beyond its size. Rising as a low, angular mound of stone, its walls are composed of tightly fitted limestone blocks, arranged with a precision that suggests intentionality and skill. Time has worn the structure, yet the outline of a true pyramid remains unmistakable, a silent testament to a lost chapter of history. The pyramid is located near the village of Hellenikon, unassuming in its surroundings. From a distance, it might appear as a natural hill, a subtle rise among the olive trees and terraces. But as one approaches, the angles, the straight edges, and the carefully aligned stones reveal human design. It is a structure at once simple and enigmatic, raising immediate questions. Who built it, and for what purpose? Conventional scholarship has long overlooked the site, often dismissing it as a Roman or medieval construction, yet its geometric precision, orientation, and construction techniques suggest something far older, something that may predate known classical civilizations in the region. Archaeological surveys have indicated that the Hellenikon pyramid was constructed using large limestone blocks, some weighing several tons. They are stacked without mortar, their alignment remarkably consistent across the base and the sloping sides. The pyramid is oriented with a subtle north-south alignment, though its original apex has long since been lost to erosion. Early 20th century explorers and local historians recorded the site as a curiosity, noting its similarities to other pyramidal structures worldwide, but without drawing firm conclusions. Its presence in a region otherwise known for classical ruins challenges our assumptions about the history of architectural knowledge in ancient Greece. The mainstream explanation suggests the pyramid was a burial monument, or defensive watchtower, repurposed over the centuries by local populations. Yet many aspects resist these labels. The internal structure, for instance, remains largely unknown. Some surveys hint at chambers or hollowed spaces within, while others suggest that its interior may have been intentionally left solid, a choice that invites speculation about ritual, astronomy, or symbolic meaning. Why carve a pyramid with such precision if the structure is intended merely to serve as a tomb or lookout? What knowledge guided the builders in the alignment and proportions of the stonework? Adding to the mystery is the pyramid's placement within the landscape. From its summit, or what remains of it, one can survey the surrounding plains and hills, but the angles are subtle, the sightlines curious rather than strictly strategic. Could it have functioned as a marker, a point of orientation for travelers, or perhaps as a signal in a network of similar sites now lost to history? Some researchers have even suggested that the pyramid may have been positioned with astronomical intent, aligning with solstices or celestial bodies. The evidence is fragmentary, yet the very possibility challenges assumptions about the technological and observational capabilities of pre-classical civilizations in Greece. The Hellenikon pyramid also invites comparison with other, more famous pyramids around the world. Its scale is modest, yet the concept, a geometric triangular monument, resonates with structures in Egypt, the Americas, and the Near East. Could this be a case of independent invention? Or does it hint at knowledge traveling across ancient networks, reaching far beyond what is currently documented? If so, what knowledge might have been shared, and what purpose did such pyramidal forms serve in disparate cultures? The answers are obscured by time, leaving us to consider not just the stone itself, but the human intention behind it. Local legends add a further layer of intrigue. Villagers speak of hidden chambers, treasures, and inscriptions long lost to erosion, stories passed down through generations, often tinged with the awe inspired by the structure. These oral traditions, while anecdotal, hint at a reverence for the pyramid that predates modern scholarship. Was it considered sacred, a place where humans could interact with forces beyond comprehension, or simply a symbol of power and permanence in a shifting landscape? Its enduring presence suggests a significance that extended beyond practicality. Some fringe theories extend even further. Enthusiasts have proposed that the pyramid is part of a forgotten network of pyramidal structures across Greece, possibly marking ley lines or serving as nodes in a system of ancient energy or ritual geography. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore a simple truth. The Hellenikon pyramid defies easy categorization. It is neither fully explained by classical history nor entirely accounted for by conventional archaeology. Its angles, proportions, and placement demand attention and contemplation. Standing at the base of the pyramid today, one is struck by its quiet dignity. The limestone blocks, worn smooth by centuries of sun, wind, and rain, remain stubbornly precise, a testament to human ingenuity. The structure seems deliberately understated, resisting the grandeur of the Egyptian pyramids or the ceremonial display of Mesoamerican sites. Yet it speaks in a subtler voice, one that invites reflection and observation. It is a monument that does not announce its secrets but preserves them, waiting for those willing to look closely, to ask questions, and to wonder. What drove the builders to carve this monument from the earth with such care and foresight? What knowledge guided their hands, and what ideas inspired them to create a shape so perfectly geometric in a world otherwise dominated by irregular forms? And perhaps most compelling, what else remains hidden, buried beneath centuries of soil, vegetation, and human neglect, waiting for the day someone will uncover the full story? For now, the Hellenikon pyramid endures, silent yet insistent, a puzzle standing at the intersection of history, archaeology, and mystery. It reminds us that even in landscapes we believe we know, fields, hills, and plains documented for millennia, ancient knowledge can lie hidden, waiting to challenge our understanding of what humans once knew and what they might have deliberately left for future generations to discover. From the gentle hills of southern Greece, where the Hellenikon pyramid quietly preserves its geometric enigma, our journey carries us farther south, across the warm currents of the Indian Ocean, to the lush, wild landscapes of Madagascar. Here, deep within rugged limestone plateaus and dense forested valleys, lies a site rarely seen by outsiders, yet resonant with quiet mystery. The Teniky, or Tenika, rock-cut complex. Unlike towering pyramids or sprawling cliff dwellings, Teniky unfolds horizontally, a labyrinth of chambers, terraces, and carved recesses etched directly into the living rock. Its presence is subtle but unmistakable, a human imprint in perfect harmony with the raw, jagged environment around it. From a distance, the complex resembles an irregular series of terraces, natural ledges extended and smoothed by careful handwork. The rock itself is pale, weathered limestone, its surface mottled with centuries of rain and moss. Yet upon closer inspection, one notices deliberate modifications, steps leading to hidden recesses, platforms cut with precision, and niches seemingly designed to hold objects, or perhaps even the remains of the dead. The craftsmanship is at once practical and ceremonial, suggesting a society that valued both utility and symbolic meaning. It is a place that demands contemplation, where every surface hints at deliberate intent. Historians and archaeologists associate Teniky with early Malagasy societies, though definitive dating remains elusive. Carbon dating of organic material from nearby settlements and surface artifacts suggests human activity in the region stretching back several centuries, perhaps even millennia. What makes Teniky particularly enigmatic is the absence of clear records or oral histories explaining its purpose. Local traditions hint at sacred use, yet no documentation details the rituals, beliefs, or cultural practices that guided its construction. The result is a site that speaks in stone, leaving us to decipher messages deliberately obscured by time. The complex itself is divided into multiple tiers, each connected by steeply carved stairways and narrow passageways. Some terraces are broad and open, suitable for gatherings or ceremonies. Others are small and isolated, suggesting private or sacred spaces. Archaeologists have found evidence of habitation, fire pits, pottery shards, and stone tools, but the arrangement of the terraces and chambers does not resemble a conventional village. Instead, it hints at a structure designed for layered purposes, spiritual, social, and perhaps even astronomical. Could Teniky have functioned as a place to observe the skies, to mark seasonal changes, or to follow patterns in the movement of stars and planets? The alignment of certain chambers with the rising sun and the orientation of stone-cut niches suggests that the builders may have been keenly aware of celestial rhythms. The scale and precision of the rock-cut architecture raise further questions. Some steps and terraces are carved with near-perfect angles, despite the uneven, naturally fractured rock. Niches and hollows are proportioned with an exactness that hints at knowledge of measurement or geometry beyond what might be expected for a small, isolated community. How did the builders achieve this? Did they inherit techniques passed down through generations, or were they experimenting with forms and layouts whose significance has since been lost? the answers remain elusive, adding to the sense of mystery. Adding to the intrigue, Teniky's location is remote and difficult to access. The plateau itself is rugged, surrounded by cliffs and dense vegetation. The site is not immediately visible from any nearby village, suggesting intentional concealment. Was this complexity and isolation designed to protect sacred knowledge, to hide the living spaces of elites, or to serve as a refuge in times of conflict? The combination of natural and human-made defenses indicates a careful integration of environment and intent, a theme echoed across many ancient megalithic and rock-cut sites worldwide. Speculation extends beyond conventional archaeology. Some researchers propose that Teniky may have been part of a larger network of ceremonial or administrative centers across Madagascar, connected by knowledge of astronomy, geomancy, or spiritual practice. Others suggest that the complex's features, stepped terraces, niches, and platforms, may encode symbolic or ritualistic systems, perhaps intended to guide human behavior or mark cosmological events. Without written records, these ideas remain speculative, yet they highlight the sophistication of the people who shaped the rock. Local legends lend the site an even more enigmatic quality. Stories speak of spirits that inhabit the chambers, guardians of ancient knowledge, and hidden treasures placed by ancestors to be rediscovered only by the worthy. While anecdotal, these narratives preserve the sense that Teniky was not merely functional but sacred, a place where the physical and spiritual worlds intersected. In the absence of documentation, these oral traditions offer glimpses into a worldview that may otherwise have vanished entirely. Despite its isolation, Teniky continues to captivate modern visitors. Walking along the terraces, tracing the contours of carved stairways, one senses the careful rhythm of human presence and intention. Every ledge, every hollow, every smoothed surface seems to challenge observers to consider not just how it was made, but why. What drove these ancient people to carve so extensively into unforgiving rock? What knowledge or spiritual practice guided each terrace, each niche, each stairway? And what remains hidden, perhaps beneath layers of sediment or behind recesses inaccessible without modern tools? The Teniky rock-cut complex endures as both monument and puzzle, a testament to human ingenuity and a guardian of secrets. Its design demonstrates an understanding of environment, structure, and perhaps even celestial cycles. Yet its purpose, full function, and origin remain partially obscured by time. Like so many of the sites we have explored, from the heights of Nemrut to the cliffs of Bandiagara, the pyramids of Greece, and the terraces of Madagascar, Teniky challenges our assumptions about ancient knowledge, skill, and intent. For now, the complex sits quietly, a dialogue in stone waiting for the patient observer. What messages lie hidden within the carved rock? What rituals, knowledge, or intentions have been lost? And how much more of Teniky's story might yet emerge, revealing the depth and breadth of civilizations that shaped our world long before the written record began? From the remote plateaus of Madagascar, where the Teniky rock-cut complex quietly guards its secrets, our journey shifts once more, this time to the wind-swept cliffs of the northern Adriatic, where the rugged coast of Italy meets the endless expanse of the sea. Perched above a sheer drop into the turquoise waters lies a site whose quiet mystery has lingered in the shadows of history. The Duino Mithraeum, an underground sanctuary carved into the cliffs near the town of Duino. Unlike monumental pyramids or sprawling cliff dwellings, the Mithraeum is intimate, secretive, and deliberately hidden, a place designed not to impress the casual traveler, but to conceal its rituals from the eyes of the uninitiated. At first sight, one might pass it by entirely. A narrow path winds along the cliff, eventually revealing a small entrance, partially eroded and camouflaged by stone and vegetation. Descending into the sanctuary, the temperature drops, the air becomes still, and the space feels suspended in time. The walls are hewn from local limestone, smoothed in some places, rough in others. Niches carved into the stone once held statues, votive offerings, and perhaps the tools of ritual, while a small altar dominates the central chamber. The sanctuary's proportions are intimate, designed for a small group rather than a large congregation, emphasizing secrecy and the personal intensity of the rituals conducted within. The Duino Mithraeum is linked to the ancient cult of Mithras, a mystery religion that spread across the Roman Empire from the 1st to the 4th centuries CE. The cult is famously secretive. Initiates underwent complex rites of passage, and its practices were deliberately concealed from outsiders. Temples, or Mithraea, were often subterranean, echoing the cave in which Mithras was believed to have slain the cosmic bull, a central motif in the mythology. Yet while much is known about Mithraic symbolism elsewhere, Duino presents anomalies. The layout is unusual, the carvings peculiar, and certain features suggest a blend of local practices with the canonical imagery of Mithras. Could this have been a regional variation of the cult, adapted to the rugged landscape and local spiritual traditions? Or is it evidence of an even older syncretic ritual system that predates Roman influence entirely? Archaeological evidence points to ritual activity, traces of burnt offerings, small artifacts, and remnants of painted decoration have been recovered. Yet the site resists full interpretation. Some scholars suggest that the Mithraeum served not only as a place of worship, but also as a refuge, a hidden sanctuary during periods of social or political upheaval. Its secluded location, carved high into the cliffs, would have been virtually inaccessible without knowledge of its paths and passages, reinforcing the idea of deliberate concealment. Who was permitted entry, and what knowledge did the initiates carry with them? These questions linger unanswered. Adding to the intrigue are the symbolic carvings found within. While bull-slaying scenes, a hallmark of Mithraic iconography, appear, other symbols diverge from the conventional repertoire. Spirals, unusual geometrical patterns, and ambiguous figures suggest either local reinterpretation or the survival of older pre-Roman ritual elements integrated into Mithraic practice. Why these deviations? Were they mere artistic flourishes, or did they encode esoteric knowledge intended to convey teachings accessible only to the initiated? The uncertainty is part of what gives Duino its enduring mystique. The Mithraeum's position above the Adriatic Sea may itself carry meaning. From the entrance, the horizon opens to a vast expanse of water, reflecting the shifting light of sunrise and sunset. Some researchers have speculated that natural phenomena, the alignment of the sanctuary with the sun, the interplay of shadows within the carved chambers, may have been deliberately incorporated into rituals. Could the sanctuary have functioned as both a spiritual and astronomical observatory, connecting the initiate to cycles beyond the human scale? The evidence is tantalizing but incomplete, leaving room for interpretation without certainty. Local folklore adds another layer to the story. Stories passed down through generations speak of hidden treasure, of secret passages extending into the cliffs, and of the Mithraeum as a gateway to deeper hidden knowledge. While these tales cannot be verified, they reflect the lingering impression of the site as a threshold between worlds, earthly and divine, visible and hidden. The very notion of a mystery cult is reinforced by the oral memory of secrecy and power, echoing the historical purpose of Mithraea throughout the Roman Empire. The Duino Mithraeum also invites comparison with other clandestine religious sites worldwide. Like the rock-cut terraces of Madagascar or the cliff dwellings of Mali, it combines concealment, ritual, and mastery of the environment. Its small scale belies its significance, demonstrating that profound meaning is often encoded not in grandeur, but in deliberate secrecy, in spaces that limit the number of observers and demand focused attention. It is a structure built to endure in obscurity, preserving its purpose across centuries of change. Descending from the sanctuary, as the sun glances off the Adriatic cliffs and the wind carries the scent of salt and stone, one cannot help but wonder about the lives of those who entered this hidden world. What did they know? What wisdom, beliefs, or rites were imparted behind these walls, never to be spoken aloud beyond the sanctuary's threshold? And what secrets, perhaps encoded in the carvings or in unexcavated recesses, remain waiting for discovery? The Duino Mithraeum stands today as it always has, quiet, secluded, and enigmatic. It is a space that resists simple categorization, a meeting of faith, artistry, and strategic concealment. Its stones speak softly, preserving the tension between revelation and secrecy, between human intention and the mysteries of the natural world. And while scholars continue to study, interpret, and debate, the sanctuary holds its ultimate story just out of reach, inviting us to consider the depth of knowledge and the subtle power of secrecy in the ancient world. For now, the Mithraeum endures, a silent witness perched on the cliffs, guarding not only its rituals but the very questions it raises. What mysteries did the initiates carry with them? How much of their knowledge was lost with the passage of time? And what else remains hidden, perhaps just beyond the edge of the rock, waiting for those willing to seek it patiently, carefully, and without expectation of certainty? From the windswept cliffs of Duino, where the Mithraeum silently guards its secrets, our journey now takes us northwest across the European landscape to the moors and valleys of Cornwall in southwestern England. Here, amidst rolling hills shrouded in mist and heather, lies a site that has perplexed archaeologists and historians alike for centuries. King Arthur's Hall, a megalithic enclosure unlike any other in Britain. Unlike the towering stone circles or burial mounds that dot the landscape, King Arthur's Hall is subtle in its presence, yet monumental in ambition. A long, rectangular structure of massive stones, each carefully placed, stretching across the rugged terrain with a gravity-defying precision. Approaching the site, one is struck first by its scale. The stones, some standing more than 2 meters tall, form a rectangle nearly 20 meters in length. Their arrangement is deliberate. 2 parallel lines create a corridor-like central space, while smaller slabs along the edges suggest terraces or platforms. The ground itself is flattened and leveled in a manner that implies painstaking labor, as if the builders intended to transform the natural hill into a carefully orchestrated stage. The immediate impression is one of quiet deliberation, a monument meant not merely to be seen, but to be experienced, walked along, and contemplated. Archaeologists have debated the purpose of King Arthur's Hall for decades. Its construction is generally dated to the Neolithic period, roughly 3,700 to 3,500 BCE, placing it contemporaneous with other monumental sites such as Karnak in France or the early henges of Britain. Yet unlike those sites, it lacks clear astronomical alignments or burial associations. Some suggest it was a ceremonial platform, a place where rituals were enacted in the open air, framed by the massive stones. Others propose it functioned as a meeting place for tribal leaders, a space for gatherings, negotiations, or perhaps even the staging of rites of passage. The evidence is tantalizing but incomplete, leaving much to interpretation. Adding to the enigma is the manner in which the stones were sourced and positioned. Local geology indicates that the slabs were quarried nearby, yet moving and erecting them would have required remarkable planning and coordination. How did these early builders transport such massive stones across uneven terrain, and why choose this particular site on a windswept hill overlooking valleys that stretch toward the Atlantic? Was it for visibility, for symbolism, or for some understanding of the land that has since been lost. Each possibility deepens the mystery, hinting at knowledge and intention beyond what remains in the archaeological record. The layout itself raises intriguing questions. The rectangular form is rare in British megalithic architecture, which more commonly favors circles, hinges, or linear alignments. Its corridor-like interior, flanked by towering slabs, evokes the sense of a passage or processional route. Could it have been designed to guide movement, creating a ritual choreography of sorts? Were initiates, elders, or participants meant to follow a precise path, moving through light and shadow, encountering thresholds that marked stages of ceremony or transformation? The absence of accompanying artifacts or inscriptions leaves these possibilities tantalizingly open. Some researchers have proposed astronomical interpretations. Certain alignments within the hall appear to correspond with sunrise or sunset at specific times of the year, suggesting the builders may have been attentive to the cycles of the sun. Yet these correlations are subtle, almost imperceptible without careful measurement, and may have been accidental rather than intentional. Still, the idea that King Arthur's Hall could have functioned as both a ceremonial space and a solar marker speaks to the layered complexity of Neolithic cognition, a blending of practical observation, spiritual ritual, and symbolic architecture. Local legend further complicates the narrative. As its name suggests, King Arthur's Hall has long been associated with the Arthurian myths of medieval Britain. Tales speak of the legendary king and his knights, of gatherings and councils held upon these stones, yet historical evidence for such connections is scant. The persistence of these stories, however, hints at a continuity of cultural memory. The site has been perceived as extraordinary for generations, its significance magnified by narrative and imagination. Could the hall have been a locus of ceremonial power long before it was linked to Arthurian legend, its meaning transformed and reinterpreted over millennia? Some fringe theories suggest even deeper mysteries. Comparisons have been drawn between King Arthur's Hall and rectangular megalithic enclosures elsewhere in Europe, implying the possibility of a shared architectural knowledge or symbolic language stretching across ancient cultures. Others speculate that the hall may encode hidden knowledge, with its dimensions, layout, and positioning reflecting cosmological principles now lost to time. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore the enigmatic quality of the site. It is at once deliberate and inexplicable, a structure designed to endure, yet resistant to easy explanation. Standing within the enclosure today, one is struck by the silence and the subtle drama of the landscape. The massive stones frame the horizon, capturing the wind and the shifting light, and the human scale feels both intimate and insignificant against the deliberate geometry of the hall. Every step along the flattened earth, every glance down the corridor of stones reinforces the sense that the builders intended something precise, something that resonates beyond simple function. It is a space that challenges perception, inviting observers to consider not just its construction, but the intent, belief, and understanding that shaped it. King Arthur's Hall endures as both monument and mystery. It is a place where human ingenuity, ritual, and landscape converge, yet its ultimate purpose remains just beyond reach. Who walked these stones thousands of years ago? And what did they see, know, or believe? What knowledge or spiritual insight was encoded in the positioning of these slabs, now weathered and silent? And what might remain hidden beneath the surface, waiting to reveal the full story of a site that has captured human imagination for generations? For now, King Arthur's Hall sits upon its hilltop, timeless and enigmatic, a quiet sentinel of stone, inviting us to wonder not only about the people who built it, but about the knowledge, rituals, and intentions that have been lost to the millennia. Its story is incomplete, its purpose still debated, and yet its presence continues to demand attention, contemplation, and above all, curiosity. From the mist-shrouded hills of Cornwall, where King Arthur's Hall preserves its ancient enigma, our journey now turns southward once again across the Mediterranean to the rugged landscapes of Sardinia. Here, scattered across the island's hills, plains, and rocky outcrops, rise monumental stone structures that have stood for millennia, seemingly indifferent to the passage of time. The Nuraghi Towers. These conical stone edifices, numbering over 7,000 across the island, dominate the landscape with a presence both imposing and enigmatic. Unlike the rectangular halls of Britain or the cliff sanctuaries of Africa, the Nuraghi rise vertically, simple in form yet complex in their construction and purpose. Approaching a typical tower, one is struck first by its scale and precision. The lower courses of the structure are built from massive basalt or granite blocks, fitted with remarkable accuracy without the use of mortar. The tower tapers gently toward the top, sometimes reaching heights of 20 meters, creating a silhouette that is at once defensive and ceremonial. The interior often contains a central chamber, a corbelled vault designed with engineering sophistication that continues to fascinate architects and historians. Some towers are solitary, perched on hilltops, while others form part of sprawling complexes, connected by walls, terraces, and smaller satellite towers, a network that suggests both strategic planning and communal organization. Archaeologists date the Nuraghi to the Bronze Age, roughly between 1900 and 730 BCE, associating them with the Nuragic civilization that flourished across Sardinia for centuries. Yet despite extensive study, their purpose remains only partially understood. Theories abound. Some propose they were defensive fortresses, capable of surveillance and protection. Others suggest they served as communal gathering points, centers of trade, or symbols of political power. Still others posit ceremonial or religious functions, supported by finds of altars, votive offerings, and subterranean wells. Perhaps most compelling is the possibility that these towers served multiple roles simultaneously, blending utility, ritual, and social authority in a single, enduring form. The construction itself is a marvel of early engineering. Stones weighing several tons were quarried, transported, and placed with precision to create stable, enduring walls. Some towers feature narrow staircases spiraling within the corbelled chambers, ascending to observation points or small openings at the summit. The design demonstrates an understanding of load distribution, stability, and durability, remarkable for a culture operating without metal tools or advanced machinery. How did the Nuragic people achieve such feats, and what knowledge of architecture and geometry guided their hands? Were these techniques independently developed, or were they inherited from even older, now forgotten cultures? The distribution and placement of the towers add another layer of mystery. Many are sited on elevated terrain, commanding views of surrounding valleys, coastlines, and neighboring towers. The positioning suggests strategic awareness, whether for defense, communication, or territorial marking. Yet the precise network and its function remain enigmatic. Some towers are isolated, seemingly purposeless in terms of immediate defense, while others are clustered in dense complexes, hinting at a hierarchy of importance. What drove the decision to place some towers alone and others in groups? Were these choices determined by social, political, spiritual, or astronomical considerations, or some combination of all? Evidence of ritual use deepens the intrigue. Excavations of central chambers have revealed small altars, carved stones, and ceramic artifacts, suggesting that the towers were not purely utilitarian. Some towers contain subterranean wells or cisterns, hinting at a symbolic connection to water, fertility, or the underworld. Could these towers have been conceived as sacred markers of the landscape, bridging the earth, sky, and the ancestral spirits of the Nuragic people? And if so, How much of their ritual significance has been lost over the millennia, leaving behind only the silent, enduring stone? The Nuraghi towers also invite comparison with megalithic structures across Europe and the Mediterranean. Their conical form, corbelled construction, and complex internal design echo architectural techniques observed in the Mediterranean basin, from the Taliotic towers of Minorca to the Bronze Age monuments of Sardinia's Italian neighbors. Could there have been cultural exchange or shared architectural knowledge across these regions? Or did the Nuraghic civilization arrive at these solutions independently, driven by local materials, environment, and necessity? The answers remain elusive, buried beneath centuries of speculation and limited archaeological evidence. Even today, the Nuraghi inspire both awe and curiosity. Walking among these towers, one senses the rhythm of a civilization that balanced engineering, social cohesion, and ritual practice with a profound understanding of their landscape. The stones seem to speak of human ambition, of the desire to mark territory, assert power, and connect with forces beyond the visible world. And yet, for all their grandeur, they also withhold their ultimate secrets. Details of their exact construction methods, the full extent of their use, and the beliefs of the people who built them. As the sun sets over the rugged Sardinian hills, casting long shadows across the towers and valleys, it is impossible not to reflect on the continuity of human ingenuity. Who walked these terraces and ascended these chambers? What gatherings, ceremonies, or decisions took place within their cool, corbelled interiors? And what knowledge, astronomical, spiritual, or architectural, was encoded in the stones, waiting for generations to uncover? The Nuraghi endure as monuments to both mystery and mastery. They stand, weathered but resolute, across the Sardinian landscape, inviting us to ponder not only the people who built them, but the ideas, intentions, and knowledge that have survived the passage of time. How many of their stories remain hidden, locked in the stones or in the surrounding landscape, waiting for the curious and the patient to rediscover them? From the sun-baked hills of Sardinia, where the Nuraghi towers rise like silent sentinels over the rugged landscape, our journey now carries us eastward, across the Mediterranean and over the deserts of the Middle East to the fertile plains of the Indus River. Here lies a city unlike any other in its time, a civilization whose scale and sophistication continue to astonish archaeologists and historians alike. Mohenjo-Daro, the Mound of the Dead, one of the principal cities of the Indus Valley civilization. Spread across what is now southern Pakistan, Mohenjo-Daro was planned with remarkable precision, its streets laid out in a grid pattern, its walls, drains, and public buildings reflecting an extraordinary understanding of urban design. Approaching the site today, one is struck by the starkness of its ruins. Brick streets, worn smooth by millennia, intersect at right angles. Terraced platforms, once the foundations of multi-story buildings, rise above the plain, their outlines hinting at domestic spaces, workshops, and public halls. In the absence of modern landmarks, the city feels frozen in time, a carefully ordered space abandoned without explanation. The layout itself speaks of forethought. A sophisticated drainage system channels water through clay pipes, while wells are strategically placed, indicating a knowledge of both hygiene and urban planning that would not be seen in many other civilizations for centuries. Archaeologists date Mohenjo-Daro to roughly 2500 BCE, making it contemporary with the great civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia. Yet unlike these counterparts, it appears to lack evidence of palaces or temples, raising questions about its social organization. Was authority decentralized? Did ritual and governance coexist within communal spaces rather than imposing monuments? Or has much of its symbolic infrastructure been lost to erosion and excavation, leaving only the practical skeleton of the city? The absence of definitive answers is part of what continues to make Mohenjo-Daro so compelling. One of the most enigmatic features of the city is the so-called Great Bath, a massive rectangular pool lined with finely fitted bricks and waterproofed with bitumen. Measuring over 12 meters in length, it was designed to hold water and to allow people to enter via steps at either end. Its purpose is the subject of intense debate. Was it a site for ritual purification, a gathering place for communal events, or simply an elaborate public utility? The sophistication of its design, complete with sluices, drains, and adjoining rooms, suggests an importance beyond mere function, hinting at a culture deeply attentive to both engineering and symbolic practice. Equally intriguing are the residential structures. Houses were built from standardized baked bricks, some arranged in multiple stories, with internal courtyards, private wells, and sophisticated ventilation systems. Such uniformity implies a level of urban planning and governance rarely seen in antiquity. Yet, despite this technological mastery, the culture left behind no readable script that has been fully deciphered, no monuments proclaiming kings or rulers. The city thrives in mystery, as if deliberately emphasizing the collective over the individual, the practical over the ostentatious. What motivated a civilization to achieve such perfection in urban living, yet leave no clear record of its leaders or ideology? Artifacts found throughout Mohenjo-Daro add further intrigue. Small statues, seals engraved with animal motifs, and intricately carved objects suggest a society with complex symbolic or ritual practices. Many seals depict creatures or iconography that have no clear parallels elsewhere, hinting at beliefs, stories, or cosmologies that remain elusive to modern scholars. Some artifacts suggest trade networks extending across the region, even as far as Mesopotamia, implying a society interconnected with the broader ancient world. Yet the rationale behind many of these objects, their meaning, use, and significance, remains unresolved. The very abandonment of the city deepens the mystery. Evidence points to a sudden decline, with signs of flooding, fire, or shifting river patterns contributing to the city's desertion around 1900 BCE. Was the departure abrupt or gradual? Did climate change, invasion, disease, or internal social upheaval drive the residents away? Archaeological interpretation has suggested a combination of factors, yet the precise cause remains a subject of debate. Mohenjo-Daro was not destroyed in conquest or systematically erased. It seems to have simply faded, leaving behind an urban blueprint frozen in time. Some fringe theories propose even more enigmatic possibilities. Certain urban alignments, the precise standardization of brick dimensions, and the apparent understanding of hydraulics suggest knowledge that may have been passed across generations or even connected to distant civilizations. Could Mohenjo-Daro encode mathematical, astronomical, or spiritual knowledge in ways we do not yet understand? Were the city's architects aware of cosmic cycles or environmental patterns that guided their meticulous planning? While speculative, such questions underscore the enduring fascination of the site. Standing among the ruins today, the scale of human ingenuity is impossible to ignore. The city speaks in measured bricks, in the channels of water that once flowed beneath streets, in the layout that anticipates centuries of urban planning to come. And yet, for all its brilliance, Mohenjo-Daro keeps its deepest secrets closely guarded. The meanings of its symbols, the structure of its society, and the reasons for its abandonment remain elusive. Mohenjo-Daro endures as both marvel and mystery. It challenges assumptions about the origins of urban civilization, demonstrating a sophistication that rivals the most famous cities of the ancient world. And it invites us, even now, to ask questions not only about the practical achievements of its people, but also about their beliefs, their knowledge, and the forces, natural, social, or spiritual, that guided their lives. How much of Mohenjo-Daro's story is yet to be uncovered? What secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to illuminate a civilization that reached extraordinary heights and then vanished almost without a trace? From the organized streets and enigmatic great bath of Mohenjo-Daro, where human ingenuity left a city frozen in time, our journey now sweeps across the Americas to the misty highlands of southern Colombia. Here, amidst lush forests, volcanic peaks, and the echoing silence of ancient valleys, lies one of South America's most mysterious archaeological treasures, San Agustín Archaeological Park. Unlike the urban precision of the Indus Valley, San Agustín spreads across rolling terrain, a landscape transformed by countless generations of skilled hands, their work both monumental and deeply enigmatic. Approaching the park, the first impression is the sheer scale and drama of its megaliths. Towering statues, some over 4 meters tall, emerge from the verdant undergrowth, carved from volcanic stone with an uncanny attention to detail. Many depict human forms with abstract features, others blend human and animal traits, evoking a symbolic language that remains largely undeciphered. Some hold ceremonial objects or are depicted in poses suggestive of authority, guardianship, or ritual action. The sheer variety of motifs, faces, bodies, and symbolic carvings imbues the landscape with a sense of sacred choreography, as if each statue occupies a carefully chosen place within an intricate overarching design. Archaeologists date the site to between the 1st and 8th centuries CE, associating it with the San Agustín culture, a civilization that flourished in the region despite the relative isolation of the highlands. Yet despite centuries of study, the purpose and meaning of these statues remain obscure. Were they funerary markers, intended to guard the deceased in monumental tombs? Or were they symbols of social hierarchy, spiritual beliefs, or cosmological knowledge? Excavations have revealed ceremonial mounds, tombs, and complex burial sites beneath and around the statues, suggesting that the megaliths were intimately tied to ritual practice. But the precise nature of these rituals and the beliefs that underpinned them is a mystery that still challenges modern interpretation. The landscape itself enhances the sense of mystery. The statues are not randomly scattered but arranged across terraces, ridges, and ceremonial platforms, suggesting a deliberate spatial organization. Paths and alignments hint at processional movement or ceremonial routes, inviting speculation about ritual choreography that may have guided the living and honored the dead. Some researchers have proposed astronomical correlations, suggesting that certain alignments mark solstices or lunar cycles, echoing patterns seen in megalithic sites worldwide. If so, the San Agustín culture possessed not only remarkable artistic skill, but also an advanced awareness of celestial rhythms, a knowledge carefully integrated into their sacred landscape. Adding to the enigma are the smaller carved objects and altars found throughout the site. Many feature symbolic motifs, spirals, geometric patterns, or hybrid creatures that defy straightforward interpretation. Some appear to be tools of ritual or markers of status, while others may have encoded myths, ancestral lineages, or cosmological concepts. What language of symbolism guided these carvings, and how much of it was lost with the passage of centuries? The lack of written records leaves these questions tantalizingly open, forcing modern observers to interpret without definitive context. One of the most striking aspects of San Agustín is the way its megaliths interact with their environment. The volcanic stone emerges naturally from the earth, and the sculptors skillfully incorporated natural features into their work, blending carved forms with the contours of the landscape. It is a marriage of geology and artistry, of human intention and natural forces. Some statues appear to mark the horizon, commanding views of distant valleys and peaks, while others guard tombs or ceremonial mounds, creating a dialogue between the living, the dead, and the surrounding mountains. What principles guided these placements? Were they designed purely for ritual and funerary purposes, or did they also encode astronomical or territorial knowledge now lost to us? Local legends and oral traditions add further layers to the story. Tales speak of the spirits of ancestors dwelling within the stones, of protective forces guarding the valley, and of sacred knowledge encoded in forms that outsiders could not understand. These stories, while anecdotal, preserve a sense of continuity between the ancient builders and later communities who revered the site. They hint at a worldview where the physical and spiritual, the seen and unseen, were deeply entwined, a perspective that modern analysis struggles to fully recover. The complexity of San Agustín raises broader questions about the development of megalithic cultures in the Americas. How did a society in the isolated highlands develop such a sophisticated understanding of stone carving, spatial planning, and symbolic representation? Did knowledge travel between distant cultures, or was this an independent flourishing of ingenuity born from local conditions, resources, and beliefs? The parallels with megalithic sites across the world, ranging from European stone circles to Asian rock-cut complexes, invite speculation about shared human tendencies in monumental expression. Yet the uniqueness of San Agustín resists direct comparison. Walking among the terraces, tombs, and statues today, one is struck by the sense of continuity and intentionality. The valley speaks in stone, in the alignment of platforms, the positioning of statues, and the careful detailing of carvings. Every sculpture, every mound, every path seems to communicate not only with those who lived here, but also with the generations that followed. And yet, for all its grandeur and sophistication, the San Agustín Archaeological Park preserves its deepest secrets, rituals, beliefs, and knowledge that have vanished with the centuries. San Agustín endures as both a monument and a mystery. It challenges our understanding of ancient societies, their connection to landscape, and their ability to encode meaning in stone. Who guided the carving of each statue, the placement of each mound? What knowledge, spiritual or practical, did they hope to preserve? And what remains hidden, beneath the soil, within undiscovered tombs, or in symbolic relationships that we have yet to decipher? The site invites contemplation, encouraging the observer to ask not only how it was built, but why it was built, and what wisdom it may still conceal. From the misty highlands of Colombia, where San Agustín's towering statues guard their secrets, our journey now turns across continents, following the threads of human ingenuity and ritual expression to the remote uplands of Laos. Here, in the rugged rolling hills of the Xiangkhouang Plateau, lies one of Southeast Asia's most enigmatic and visually striking megalithic landscapes, the Plain of Jars. Unlike the sculpted figures of San Agustín or the city grids of Mohenjo-Daro, the Plain of Jars is defined by its repetition of monumental stone vessels, thousands of them scattered across the hillsides, standing as silent sentinels over an ancient, largely hidden story. From a distance, the jars seem almost surreal. Weathered stone forms rise from the grass, some half buried, others standing erect, their massive cylindrical shapes stretching up to 3 meters in height and weighing several tons. The sheer scale of these monoliths is astonishing, yet what makes them truly compelling is their intentional placement, grouped in clusters across the plateau, sometimes aligned along ridges, sometimes isolated in solitary fields. The stones are roughly hewn from sandstone, granite, or conglomerate, yet each bears evidence of careful shaping, smooth interiors, beveled rims, and subtle variations in form that hint at specific functional or symbolic purposes. Archaeologists date these jars to the Iron Age, roughly between 500 BCE and 500 CE, attributing them to cultures whose daily lives and belief systems are largely lost to time. The dominant interpretation suggests that they were used in funerary practices, possibly as containers for the cremated remains of the dead before subsequent burial in secondary sites. Yet no inscriptions survive to confirm this, and the precise rituals remain a matter of speculation. Some jars contain small stone or ceramic fragments, while others sit empty, suggesting variations in practice across clusters or generations. Were these differences ceremonial, social, or regional? Or do they reflect layers of a ritual system that we are only beginning to glimpse? The placement of the jars adds to the mystery. Many clusters occupy strategic positions on hilltops or plateaus with commanding views of the surrounding valleys. Could these elevated locations have served symbolic purposes, connecting the dead with the heavens, or marking territories imbued with spiritual significance? Some researchers note that certain jar alignments appear to follow cardinal points or topographical features, hinting at a deliberate engagement with landscape, light, or seasonal cycles. Was the very act of placing the jars a ritual in itself, an offering to unseen forces or a means of communicating with distant ancestors? Despite decades of excavation, many of the jar's most basic questions remain unresolved. The methods of quarrying, transporting, and erecting these massive stones continue to puzzle researchers. Some jars are carved from stone located kilometers away from their eventual resting places, raising questions about the technological and organizational abilities of the communities responsible. How were these enormous stones moved across rugged, uneven terrain? Did the builders employ simple but ingenious mechanical techniques, or did these acts themselves carry ritual significance, embedding the labor of the living into the memorialization of the dead? Adding to the enigma are the smaller stone artifacts and secondary burial sites associated with the jars. Carved figures, offering pits, and stone discs have been found in proximity, suggesting a complex ritual framework. Some jars exhibit carved patterns or subtle marks, the meaning of which remains undeciphered. Were these purely decorative, symbolic, or functional? Did they encode cosmological or ancestral knowledge that has now been lost, or were they intended to denote social status or group affiliation? The absence of written records leaves only tantalizing glimpses, forcing us to consider possibilities rather than certainties. Local oral histories and legends further enrich the site's mystique. Stories speak of ancient spirits inhabiting the jars, of invisible pathways connecting clusters, and of treasures or knowledge hidden within the stones. While these narratives cannot be historically verified, they preserve the sense that the plateau was regarded as sacred, a liminal space between life and death, the human and the divine. The persistent reverence for the jars over centuries underscores their enduring significance, even when the details of their use were forgotten. The Plain of Jars also invites comparison with other megalithic traditions around the world. Like the tombs of San Agustín, the Nuraghi of Sardinia, or the rock-cut terraces of Teniky, these stones demonstrate a combination of monumental effort, ritual purpose, and symbolic complexity. Yet the jars remain distinct in their form and function, emphasizing containment and horizontality rather than verticality or anthropomorphic representation. What does this tell us about the diversity of human approaches to memorialization and ritual across cultures and continents? And what common impulses might connect societies that are separated not only by geography, but also by millennia? Walking among the clusters today, one is struck by the silence of the plateau. The wind moves through the grass, brushing against stone surfaces carved thousands of years ago. Some jars lie cracked or toppled, casualties of time and conflict, yet others remain perfectly upright, guardians of the past. Each jar feels intentional, each placement deliberate, as if the landscape itself has been carefully orchestrated to preserve memory, mark territory, or convey spiritual significance. The sense of continuity between human labor, natural environment, and ritual practice is palpable, yet the full meaning remains frustratingly elusive. The Plain of Jars endures as a place of both mystery and majesty. Its monumental stones bear witness to human creativity, to cultural complexity, and to the enduring power of ritual. And yet, for all its visibility, the plateau keeps its deepest secrets, its ceremonies, its cosmologies, and its knowledge of life and death. How many stories remain hidden within the stones, waiting to be interpreted? What subtle patterns, relationships, or rituals have vanished with the passing centuries? And what does the persistence of these megaliths tell us about the human desire to leave traces that endure far beyond the span of a single lifetime? From the highlands of Laos, where the plain of jars stretches in quiet majesty across misted valleys, our journey now moves across oceans to the dense, verdant rainforests of southern Mexico. Here, in the tropical lowlands of Chiapas, lies one of Mesoamerica's most enigmatic cities, Palenque. Unlike the isolated megalithic jars or the dispersed tombs of San Agustín, Palenque was a thriving urban center, a seat of power and artistry whose temples and palaces rise above the canopy, half concealed by creeping vines and the shadows of massive ceiba trees. It is a city both alive and timeless, where stone and jungle meet in a silent dialogue, preserving the mysteries of a civilization that once ruled these lands. Approaching Palenque, the first impression is one of wonder at the harmony between architecture and environment. Temples and palaces emerge through breaks in the forest, their facades adorned with intricate carvings, stucco reliefs, and hieroglyphic inscriptions that whisper of history, myth, and ceremony. Among the most striking is the Temple of the Inscriptions, whose steep stairways lead into hidden chambers filled with hieroglyphs and the tomb of the great ruler, Pakal the Great. The structure is monumental, yet every element reflects careful planning. Staircases, terraces, and roof combs combine both practical and symbolic considerations, hinting at an understanding of astronomy, cosmology, and ritual precision. Palenque flourished during the classic period of the Maya civilization, roughly between 600 and 800 CE. It was a center of political power, artistic innovation, and spiritual practice, yet it is the city's mysteries that continue to captivate researchers. The architecture alone raises questions. Why were certain buildings aligned to specific cardinal points or celestial events? Could the placement of temples, plazas, and ball courts encode astronomical knowledge, serving as a calendar or ceremonial guide? And how much of this knowledge was accessible only to the ruling elite, hidden from common citizens in the secrecy of sacred rites? The tomb of Pakal offers a profound example of Palenque's enigmatic nature. Discovered deep within the Temple of the Inscriptions, the sarcophagus contains elaborate carvings that have sparked debate for decades. The iconography blends cosmic symbolism, mythology, and depictions of the ruler himself in poses that suggest a journey through the underworld. Scholars interpret these images as reflections of Maya cosmology, the cycle of death and rebirth, the connection between earthly power and celestial forces. But some elements remain difficult to reconcile. Do these carvings depict purely mythological scenes, or do they encode hidden astronomical or esoteric knowledge, a secret message for those trained in the elite traditions of the city? The absence of written explanations leaves these interpretations open to conjecture. Beyond Pakal's tomb, the city's urban layout presents additional enigmas. Residential compounds, ceremonial centers, and water management systems reveal a sophisticated understanding of hydraulics, social organization, and environmental adaptation. Channels, cisterns, and aqueducts demonstrate an ability to control and store water in a tropical climate prone to heavy rains and seasonal flooding. Yet the planning of these features also seems ritualized, aligned with plazas and temples in ways that suggest symbolic as well as practical purposes. Could the very movement of water through the city have been a sacred act, a reflection of cosmic cycles enacted in miniature? Or were these alignments the product of pragmatic urbanism layered with spiritual resonance? The inscriptions and stucco reliefs found throughout Palenque offer tantalizing glimpses into the life and beliefs of its people. Kings, queens, and priests appear alongside deities, supernatural beings, and abstract symbols whose meanings remain only partially deciphered. The hieroglyphs reveal detailed records of dynastic succession, warfare, and ceremonial events, yet many texts are incomplete or obscured, leaving gaps that invite interpretation. What knowledge has been lost to time, and what remains encoded in ways we cannot yet perceive? Were some secrets deliberately concealed, preserved for the initiated, while leaving outsiders in perpetual ignorance? The natural setting of Palenque enhances its sense of mystery. Nestled in a rainforest, with streams and waterfalls cutting through the landscape, the city seems deliberately integrated into its environment. Mountains form natural backdrops to temples, and the canopy shapes light and shadow across plazas and stairways. Could the Maya have considered the jungle itself a sacred partner in their rituals, a living extension of the cosmic order reflected in stone? The interaction between human construction and natural surroundings suggests a worldview in which architecture, spirituality, and ecology were inseparable. Palenque also inspires speculation beyond conventional archaeology. Some researchers have suggested that the city's advanced knowledge of astronomy, engineering, and urban planning reflects insights that may have been lost with the decline of the Maya civilization. How much of their knowledge, encoded in the alignment of temples or the carvings of tombs, remains hidden to modern eyes? Could there be layers of meaning in Palenque that we are only beginning to perceive? Subtle instructions for understanding time, ritual, and the cycles of life and death? The possibility of undiscovered secrets adds a quiet tension to the experience of visiting or studying the site. Walking among the temples, plazas, and terraces today, one feels the presence of both power and mystery. Palenque speaks through its stone, its inscriptions, and its layout, yet it also resists complete understanding. The city embodies a delicate balance between revelation and concealment, between the practical needs of a thriving urban center and the spiritual imperatives of ritual life. Each carving, each architectural choice, each alignment seems purposeful, as though the city itself is a living text waiting to be read across time, its meaning only partially illuminated. Palenque endures as a testament to human creativity, belief, and the desire to leave a lasting mark on the world. Its temples rise from the jungle, its inscriptions whisper across centuries, and its mysteries remain tantalizingly unresolved. Who walked these plazas, ascended these stairways, and performed the rituals that gave life and meaning to the city? What knowledge, astronomical, spiritual, or social, was encoded in its architecture, carvings, and sacred spaces? And what secrets still lie hidden, waiting for those willing to look closely, to listen carefully, and to wonder without end? From the lush rainforests of Palenque, where temples rise like emerald towers and hieroglyphs whisper secrets of rulers long gone, our journey now ascends to the high Andes of Peru, where stone dominates both landscape and imagination. Perched above the city of Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire, lies Sacsayhuamán, a fortress of monumental proportions whose massive walls continue to defy comprehension and inspire awe. Here, human hands shaped granite blocks into a complex puzzle of precision and power, blending defense, ritual, and ingenuity into a single enduring masterpiece. Approaching Sacsayhuamán, the first impression is of scale and audacity. Gigantic stones, some weighing over 200 tons, rise in zigzagging terraces, their interlocking forms fitted so tightly that not even a blade of grass can slip between them. The walls curve along the contours of the hilltop, embracing the skyline with a geometry that is both functional and symbolic. Each block appears to have been sculpted specifically for its place, shaped not just to bear weight, but to merge seamlessly with its neighbors. Walking along these terraces, one senses the careful orchestration of space, as if the builders sought not only to fortify but to communicate. Through stone, alignment, and sheer magnitude, the power and sophistication of their civilization. Sacsayhuamán is traditionally attributed to the Incas, constructed during the 15th and early 16th centuries under the reign of Pachacuti and his successors. Chroniclers describe it as a defensive stronghold, capable of withstanding assaults and overlooking the surrounding valleys. Yet the precision of the masonry, the scale of the stones, and the complexity of their arrangement suggest purposes that extend beyond the purely military. Some researchers propose ceremonial significance. The fortress may have functioned as a center for sun and solstice rituals, a sacred stage where rulers and priests enacted cosmic order upon the earth. Could the fortress have simultaneously served as both shield and shrine, a tangible expression of authority intertwined with spiritual power? The engineering of Sacsayhuamán continues to provoke wonder. The walls exhibit a polygonal style, with stones of irregular shapes meticulously joined without mortar. The arrangement absorbs seismic activity, an essential feature in this earthquake-prone region. Yet the precision required to achieve such stability with enormous blocks remains extraordinary. How did Inca engineers move, lift, and shape stones of such size using only simple tools, manpower, and ingenuity? And what knowledge guided their selection, orientation, and placement of each monolith, ensuring centuries of resilience while creating patterns that evoke both function and aesthetic harmony? Beyond the technical marvels, the site is imbued with ritual and symbolic resonance. The terraces are thought to echo celestial patterns or sacred animals, and the zigzagging walls may have represented a serpent, a powerful symbol in Inca cosmology. Some terraces align with the solstices, suggesting that the fortress may have served as a platform for astronomical observation or ceremonial gatherings tied to the agricultural calendar. The placement of Sacsayhuamán overlooking Cusco, the heart of the empire, reinforces its dual function, a fortress of stone and a monument of ideology, linking human construction with cosmic and social order. Despite extensive study, many aspects of Sacsayhuamán remain mysterious. Certain stones appear to be impossibly shaped or positioned, their sheer weight and irregular form raising questions about construction techniques and labor organization. Were some blocks quarried from sites many kilometers away, transported across mountain valleys, and lifted to their positions through coordinated ingenuity that blends human skill with unknown methods? Could there have been knowledge of leverage, friction reduction, or counterweight systems that has since been lost? These questions inspire both admiration and curiosity, emphasizing the ingenuity of the builders while hinting at secrets no written record preserves. The fortress also invites comparison with other megalithic traditions around the world. From the corbelled towers of Sardinia to the massive stone walls of Nuraghi, from the tombs of Mohenjo-Daro to the terraces of San Agustín, Sacsayhuamán exemplifies a recurring human impulse to manipulate stone on a monumental scale, merging practical, ceremonial, and symbolic functions. Yet its distinct polygonal masonry, seismic resilience, and alignment with natural and cosmic patterns set it apart, suggesting a culture whose technical skill, spiritual sophistication, and aesthetic sensibility converged in ways that still inspire awe. As one walks the terraces today, amidst the wind and the panoramic views of Cusco and the surrounding mountains, the presence of the builders is palpable. The fortress speaks not only of defense and authority, but also of ritual, cosmology, and human aspiration. It embodies a dialogue between humanity and nature, between practical necessity and symbolic expression, between the tangible and the transcendent. And yet, for all its apparent order and mastery, Sacsayhuamán continues to conceal its deepest truths. The methods of construction, the full scope of ritual practice, and the intentions encoded in the placement and shape of each stone. Sacsayhuamán endures as both fortress and mystery, a testament to the power, skill, and vision of the Inca civilization. It challenges modern observers to consider not only what was achieved, but how and why, how human hands moved impossibly massive stones, how geometric precision was realized without modern tools, and why the fortress was crafted in such a way that it resonates with both the earthly and the cosmic. What knowledge, spiritual insight, or engineering secrets remain hidden within these walls? And what can Sacsayhuamán teach us about the limits of human ingenuity, the blending of art and utility, and the enduring desire to create monuments that transcend time? From the windswept terraces of Sacsayhuamán, where Inca masons carved and placed stones of staggering precision high in the Andes, our journey now sweeps across continents and centuries to the fertile Bekaa Valley of Lebanon. Here, amidst rolling plains and the shadows of the anti-Lebanon mountains, stands one of the most awe-inspiring feats of ancient engineering in the world, the Baalbek Trilithon. Unlike the Inca walls, where granite blocks interlock in intricate polygonal patterns, or the ceremonial alignments of Palenque and San Agustín, the Trilithon is defined by sheer scale. 3 enormous limestone monoliths, each weighing upwards of 800 tons, laid with astonishing precision in the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. Approaching the site, the first impression is one of awe and disbelief. The stones lie side by side, their surfaces smoothed and fitted with remarkable accuracy, creating a base that has endured millennia of earthquakes, weather, and human activity. It is difficult to reconcile such immense weight with the apparent ease with which the stones seem to rest in perfect alignment. Each block dwarfs the human figure, yet they appear almost delicate in their placement, as if the builders possessed knowledge of leverage, transport, and positioning that surpasses modern assumptions about ancient engineering. The scale alone is staggering. The largest of the 3, the so-called Stone of the Pregnant Woman, measures over 19 meters in length, 4 meters in height, and 3.6 meters in width, a single monolith of almost unimaginable mass. Archaeologists date the construction of the Baalbek complex to the Roman period, around the 1st century BCE to the 2nd century CE, with foundations possibly predating the imperial temple by centuries. Yet the origins of these massive stones, their precise placement, and even the quarrying methods remain subjects of debate. Conventional theories suggest that large numbers of workers used rollers, levers, and scaffolding to maneuver the blocks, yet the distances involved, from quarry to temple and in some cases across difficult terrain, pose questions about practicality. Could such feats have been accomplished without advanced engineering knowledge? Or might there have been techniques now lost to history? The Trilithon challenges assumptions about the limits of human labor and ingenuity. The purpose of the Baalbek foundations deepens the mystery. The colossal base supports the Temple of Jupiter, one of the grandest Roman temples ever constructed, yet some scholars suggest the stones may have had significance beyond mere architectural function. Were they intended to convey power, dominance, or cosmic alignment? Did the massive scale reflect not only religious devotion, but also an intentional display of human mastery over nature, stone, and space? And if earlier civilizations predated the Romans on this site, what knowledge or spiritual importance might have been inherited from these predecessors? Beyond engineering, the site resonates with ritual and symbolic mystery. The Temple of Jupiter itself, built atop these enormous stones, was a focal point for ceremonies, processions, and offerings, yet the foundation stones remain silent witnesses. Some researchers speculate that the positioning and orientation of the Trilithon may encode astronomical knowledge or align with celestial events, echoing patterns seen in megalithic structures around the globe. Could the builders have integrated sacred geometry into the very stones themselves, merging spiritual belief with practical construction in a way that resonates across millennia? The possibility lingers, tantalizingly, without firm confirmation. The Baalbek Trilithon also invites reflection on the human capacity for vision and ambition. Moving and placing blocks of such size, smoothing their surfaces, and fitting them together with millimeter precision would have required extraordinary planning, coordination, and ingenuity. Did the builders possess techniques that have since been lost, methods of transport, leverage, or lubrication that modern scholars have yet to uncover? Or did the stones themselves hold symbolic meaning that justified extraordinary labor, with human effort intertwined with ritual intent? Each theory hints at a civilization capable of harmonizing practicality, artistry, and cosmic perspective in ways that remain deeply mysterious. Comparisons with other megalithic traditions underscore the enduring fascination of Baalbek. From the polygonal walls of Sacsayhuamán to the massive stonework of the Nuraghi, from the dolmens of Europe to the colossal blocks of Egypt, humans have repeatedly demonstrated an urge to manipulate stone on an immense scale. Yet the Trilithon stands apart, both in size and in the precision of placement. It challenges notions of what is feasible with the tools and knowledge traditionally attributed to ancient builders, and continues to provoke questions about the sophistication and intentions of its constructors. Standing before the Trilithon today, one is struck by the convergence of scale, skill, and mystery. The stones, weathered by millennia, seem simultaneously solid and impossibly light in their arrangement. The valley stretches below, framed by mountains, while the sun illuminates the massive surfaces, casting long shadows that emphasize their monumental form. Every line, joint, and angle seems purposeful, yet the deeper knowledge, the methods, meanings, and intentions remains beyond reach. The stones endure as silent teachers, offering insight into human potential while withholding full comprehension. Baalbek's Trilithon endures as a testament to ambition, skill, and mystery. It reminds us that ancient civilizations were capable of engineering marvels that challenge modern imagination, that power and devotion could be expressed through stone on an almost unimaginable scale, and that some secrets remain deliberately or inevitably concealed by time. What techniques allowed such massive blocks to be quarried, transported, and positioned with precision? What cultural, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge was embedded in their arrangement? And what might these stones still reveal to those who study them carefully, patiently, and without preconceived limits on what the ancient world could achieve? From the colossal stones of Baalbek, where human ambition meets an almost incomprehensible mastery of scale, our journey now traces back across the Americas to the arid coastal plains of Peru. Here lies one of the earliest known urban centers in the Western Hemisphere, Caral, a city that predates even the pyramids of Egypt and the monumental architecture of Mesopotamia. Nestled within the Soup Valley, Caral rises from a landscape of gentle hills and river terraces. Its pyramidal platforms, sunken plazas, and ceremonial structures whispering of a civilization that flourished over 5,000 years ago. The silence of the surrounding desert amplifies the city's presence, allowing the imagination to reach back across millennia to the people who shaped this extraordinary place. Approaching Caral, the scale and sophistication of its architecture become immediately apparent. 6 major pyramidal structures dominate the city, each constructed with sun-dried adobe bricks arranged with deliberate care. Their terraces and platforms connected by an intricate network of plazas, stairways, and pathways. Unlike later Andean civilizations, Caral's builders did not leave behind ornate sculpture or elaborate reliefs. Instead, their genius is expressed through urban planning itself, the alignment of structures along cardinal points, the organization of residential and ceremonial areas, and the integration of the city into its environment. Water management systems, including irrigation canals and subterranean drainage, reflect an understanding of the region's climatic challenges. demonstrating that the people of Caral were not only architects of stone, but engineers of landscape. Archaeologists date Caral to roughly 2600 BCE, placing it among the earliest known urban centers in the Americas. The city's emergence challenges conventional narratives of civilization, suggesting that complex society developed in the Andean region independently of influences from Mesoamerica or the Old World. Yet the questions surrounding Caral remain as compelling as its architecture. How did a society without ceramics or metallurgy organize labor on such a monumental scale? What systems of governance, ritual, or knowledge allowed these early builders to coordinate the construction of massive pyramids and ceremonial plazas? And what compelled them to devote immense effort to creating a city whose very form communicates social, spiritual, and cosmic order? The ceremonial heart of Caral is particularly striking. Sunken plazas, often flanked by pyramidal platforms, suggest ritual activity, gatherings, offerings, or perhaps astronomical observation. Some researchers posit that the city functioned as both a religious and economic center, where elite figures conducted ceremonies that reinforced social cohesion while controlling trade and agricultural production. Musical instruments, such as flutes and percussion artifacts, have been found within residential and ceremonial contexts, indicating that sound and ritual may have played integral roles in the city's social and spiritual life. Could the movement of people, the echo of music across plazas, and the architecture itself have been carefully choreographed to create a profound sensory and spiritual experience? Another source of intrigue is the city's apparent longevity and eventual decline. Caral thrived for several centuries before its abandonment, yet there is little evidence of warfare or violent destruction. Archaeologists suggest environmental pressures, shifts in river courses, climatic change, or soil depletion may have contributed to the city's gradual decline. But the silence of the archaeological record also invites speculation. What knowledge, practices, or social structures disappeared with Caral's abandonment? What symbolic, spiritual, or practical insights might have been lost, leaving only the physical city to testify to human ingenuity and ambition? The orientation and design of Caral continue to provoke questions about cosmology and ritual. Some researchers note alignments of plazas and pyramids with solstices, sunrises, and sunsets, hinting at an awareness of celestial cycles and their integration into urban planning. Could these alignments indicate a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, encoded in the very layout of the city? And if so, what purposes did this knowledge serve? Practical, ceremonial, or both? The city seems to embody a dialogue between the terrestrial and the celestial, grounding human activity in a framework that extends beyond the immediate landscape. Caral also invites comparison with other early megalithic traditions worldwide. From the Trilithon stones of Baalbek to the pyramidal complexes of Egypt, humans have repeatedly demonstrated the desire to monumentalize knowledge, power, and spiritual belief through architecture. Yet Caral's uniqueness lies in its combination of early urbanism, monumental construction, and integration with environmental and social systems, all achieved without the technological tools later civilizations would take for granted. It is a testament to human ingenuity and the capacity for social organization long before writing, metallurgy, or advanced ceramics emerged. Walking among the pyramids, plazas, and residential platforms today, the silence is profound. The wind stirs the desert grasses, brushing against the sun-baked adobe, and one cannot help but sense the labor, vision, and ritual embedded in every structure. Each brick, each platform, each alignment seems intentional, a deliberate choice by people who understood their world in ways that remain partially obscured to us. The city speaks not in words, but in stone, soil, and spatial arrangement, inviting contemplation of human ambition, social cohesion, and the pursuit of meaning. Caral endures as both monument and mystery, a city whose innovations and intentions continue to challenge our understanding of early civilization. How did its builders coordinate labor on such a monumental scale without complex technology? What knowledge, astronomical, ritual, or social, was encoded in the city's design? And what truths about human ingenuity, culture, and the passage of time lie buried beneath its terraces and plazas, waiting for those willing to look carefully, to question deeply, and to wonder without end? From the arid river terraces of Caral, where humanity's earliest urban planners molded pyramids and plazas with careful intention, our journey now shifts across the Atlantic to the rolling plains of southwestern Spain. Here, near Trigueros in Andalusia, lies one of Europe's most enigmatic megalithic monuments, the Dolmen de Soto. Unlike the monumental urban centers of the Americas or the massive foundation stones of Baalbek, this structure is smaller in scale but no less compelling, its meaning encoded in a delicate balance of architecture, light, and ritual. It is a silent witness to a Neolithic world, where human communities began to grapple with life, death, and the cosmos in ways that remain partially hidden to us today. Approaching the dolmen, one is immediately struck by the elegance of its construction. The monument consists of a long, narrow corridor formed by standing stones, leading to a rectangular burial chamber capped with a massive capstone. Each megalith is carefully positioned, some leaning slightly as though in deliberate asymmetry, creating a corridor that draws the visitor inward, both physically and symbolically. The stones themselves are rough-hewn yet meticulously aligned, their surfaces echoing the hands that shaped them. Walking through the corridor, the air feels different, damp, cool, and resonant, as if the very space remembers the ceremonies and footsteps of those who once passed through it. Archaeologists date the Dolmen de Soto to approximately 4,500 BCE, placing it among the most ancient megalithic monuments in the Iberian Peninsula. The site functioned primarily as a collective tomb, yet its design reveals considerations beyond mere interment. The orientation of the dolmen is carefully aligned along the axis of sunrise during the winter solstice, allowing the first light of the shortest day of the year to penetrate the corridor and illuminate the back of the chamber. This interplay of light and stone suggests a sophisticated understanding of solar cycles, a deliberate integration of celestial observation into funerary practice. Was this alignment meant to guide the souls of the deceased, to mark time, or to symbolize the eternal cycles of life and death? The stones themselves offer clues, but the full meaning remains elusive. The interior of the dolmen reveals further mysteries. Excavations have uncovered human remains, pottery fragments, and personal objects, indicating complex ritual behavior surrounding death and remembrance. The careful layering of bodies, the inclusion of artifacts, and the spatial organization of the chamber suggest that the monument served as more than a repository for the dead. It was a stage for the enactment of social and spiritual order. Could these objects have encoded status, familial lineage, or cosmological knowledge? And if so, how much of that knowledge was meant to be shared, and how much deliberately concealed within the stone walls? The corridor leading to the burial chamber is particularly evocative. Its length and orientation create a sense of journey, a transition from the exterior world to the sacred interior. Some researchers have suggested that movement along the corridor symbolized the passage from life to death, the living navigating through darkness to the illuminated resting place of their ancestors. The effect of the winter solstice sunlight, striking the chamber's rear wall at the precise moment, amplifies this impression, transforming stone into instrument, architecture into storytelling. Could the builders have intended visitors to experience this moment as a form of ritual initiation or cosmic alignment? The precision of the design implies knowledge that extends beyond practical construction into the symbolic and ceremonial. The Dolmen de Soto also invites reflection on the broader human impulse to monumentalize memory and belief. Similar to Caral's pyramids, Sacsayhuamán Walls, or the Trilithon of Baalbek, the dolmen represents a deliberate manipulation of the landscape to create meaning. Yet its scale is intimate, its impact personal and communal rather than political or imperial. It speaks of a society that sought continuity with ancestors, alignment with celestial rhythms, and a tangible expression of spirituality within their everyday environment. What social structures, spiritual insights, or communal practices drove the creation of such monuments, and how much of that understanding has been lost to the millennia? Comparisons with other megalithic sites underscore the universality of these impulses. From the tombs of San Agustín to the plateau of the Plain of Jars, humans have repeatedly used stone to bridge life and death, to communicate with unseen forces, and to encode knowledge across generations. Yet, the Dolmen de Soto stands out for its integration of astronomy, architecture, and ritual experience, creating an immersive encounter that is both physical and spiritual. How did Neolithic communities develop such precise observational knowledge, and how was it transmitted across generations without written language? The dolmen, in its quiet endurance, invites speculation without providing definitive answers. Walking through the corridor today, one cannot help but feel the presence of those who built and used it. The rough walls, the capstone above, and the alignment with the sun create a sensory experience that transcends time, connecting the modern observer with ancient hands and intentions. Each step through the passageway, each glance toward the rear chamber, evokes questions about mortality, ritual, and cosmic awareness that are as compelling now as they were 5 millennia ago. The dolmen is not simply a tomb. It is a vessel of memory, a conduit for understanding, and a puzzle that continues to challenge our perceptions of Neolithic life. The Dolmen de Soto endures as both monument and mystery, a silent archive of human aspiration, knowledge, and reverence for life and death. It challenges us to consider how ancient societies navigated mortality, celestial cycles, and communal identity, and what knowledge, ritual, astronomical, or social, might remain hidden within the stones. How were the stones quarried, transported, and positioned with such precision? What ceremonies and beliefs guided the builders' hands and minds? And what secrets still linger in the corridor, waiting for those willing to observe carefully, reflect deeply, and wonder without end? From the sunlit corridor of the Dolmen de Soto, where Neolithic hands shaped stone to align with the winter solstice and guide the spirits of the departed, our journey now moves across continents and millennia to the heart of ancient Egypt. Nestled behind the well-known temple complex of Abydos lies one of the most enigmatic and mysterious monuments of the pharaonic world, the Osirian. Unlike the grandiose pyramids that dominate the desert or the colossal temples that line the Nile, the Osirian is understated in appearance, a subterranean marvel whose significance is as obscured by time as by its partially hidden location. Yet its impact on the visitor is immediate. An aura of quiet authority, mystery, and cosmic intent pervades every stone. Approaching the site, the Osirian presents itself as a massive stone hall, constructed with enormous granite blocks and designed with precision that continues to astonish modern engineers. The entrance leads downward into a series of terraces and water-filled chambers, creating the impression of descending into an ancient underworld. The subterranean hall is aligned along an east-west axis, with the possibility of solar illumination marking significant celestial events. The sense of deliberate orientation and architectural forethought is palpable. Each step echoes against walls that have withstood millennia, while the silence within amplifies the weight of history, ceremony, and the unknown. Historians attribute the Osirian to Pharaoh Seti I of the 19th dynasty, around 1290 BCE, though the structure exhibits architectural features and stylistic elements that have led some to speculate it may be far older than the surrounding temple complex. The enormous granite blocks, some weighing tens of tons, are fitted with meticulous precision, and the chamber's central axis, depth, and subterranean water system suggest a purpose beyond mere burial or storage. Could the Osirian have been designed as a symbolic tomb, a ritual center, or a conduit between the living and the divine? The pharaoh's choice to build beneath the earth rather than above it invites speculation about beliefs regarding the afterlife, cosmology, and the passage of the soul. Water is a central and perplexing feature of the Osirian. The floor of the subterranean hall rests below the surrounding temple platform, allowing natural groundwater to seep in, forming a reflective pool within the central chamber. Some scholars argue that this water held ritual significance, representing the primordial waters of creation, the underworld Nile, or a symbolic cleansing space. Could the presence of water have been intended to connect the living world with the domain of the dead, to allow the pharaoh's essence to merge with cosmic forces? The reflective surface of the chamber enhances the geometry of the hall, multiplying columns and shadows, creating a sense of infinite depth, a visual metaphor perhaps for eternity itself. The Osirian's construction continues to challenge conventional understanding. The enormous blocks were quarried, transported, and fitted with incredible precision, yet the methods remain uncertain. How were these monoliths maneuvered into place? Was the subterranean water level used as a hydraulic aid, or were other, now lost, technologies employed? The precision of the masonry, the alignment with the surrounding temple complex, and the seemingly intentional use of natural subterranean features all suggest knowledge that blends engineering, cosmology, and ritual in ways that remain largely inscrutable to modern observers. Symbolism permeates the Osirian. The central hall, supported by rows of massive granite pillars, evokes the image of a forest frozen in stone, a sacred grove linking the terrestrial and the divine. Some researchers propose that the subterranean hall mirrors mythological representations of the underworld, the realm of Osiris himself, emphasizing themes of death, rebirth, and cosmic renewal. Could the architectural choices, the placement of water, and the orientation of the hall have been designed to guide the pharaoh's soul or to facilitate ritual experiences for initiates? The precision and intent suggest a civilization capable of integrating material, spiritual, and symbolic knowledge in ways that remain partially obscured. The Osirian also invites comparison with other enigmatic, megalithic sites worldwide. From the Dolmen de Soto to Caral, Sacsayhuamán, and Baalbek, humans have consistently sought to manipulate massive stones in service of ritual, cosmology, and memory. Yet the Osirian stands apart for its subterranean design, its reflective waters, and the integration of symbolic and practical elements within a single cohesive space. How much of the knowledge encoded in its architecture has been lost to time, and how much might remain embedded in the very alignment, geometry, and relationship with natural elements? Walking through the Osirian today, one is enveloped by the profound silence of the subterranean hall, the dim light filtering through cracks above, and the cool dampness rising from the water below. The massive pillars seem to hold not only the roof, but the weight of centuries of human belief, ceremony, and ingenuity. Each block, each reflection, each measured shadow appears intentional, speaking across time to those who seek to understand the integration of life, death, and cosmos in stone. It is an immersive encounter, one that encourages contemplation, humility, and wonder. The Osirian endures as both monument and mystery, a place where architecture, water, and celestial awareness converge. It challenges modern observers to consider the sophistication of ancient Egyptian knowledge, the integration of ritual and engineering, and the depths of human intent embedded in stone. What secrets remain hidden within the walls and waters of the hall? What knowledge of the cosmos, of death and rebirth, or of spiritual practice was encoded in the choices of orientation, construction, and design? And what might this ancient monument still teach those willing to observe carefully, question deeply, and embrace the mystery without seeking immediate answers? From the subterranean halls of the Osirian, where granite pillars, water, and shadow merge into a ritual landscape of death and cosmic alignment, our journey now plunges into a different kind of mystery, one shaped not by human hands alone, but by the restless sea. Off the southern coast of Japan, near the remote island of Yonaguni, lies a formation that has sparked debate, wonder, and even controversy for decades: the Yonaguni Monument. Submerged beneath the waters of the East China Sea, this vast stone structure rises from the ocean floor in a series of terraces, sharp edges, and flat plains, evoking the memory of a civilization long swallowed by time and tide. Its presence is both tangible and elusive, a puzzle that resists easy interpretation. Approaching the site, whether in diving gear or through underwater imaging, the first impression is the striking geometry of the formation. Massive stone terraces descend like steps into the deep, their edges unnaturally straight, their planes seemingly carved with intent. There are right angles, flat surfaces, and large pillar-like structures that resemble platforms or walls. The scale is impressive. Some of the stones measure tens of meters across, and the entire complex spans several hundred meters. The careful organization of these underwater blocks suggests deliberation, yet their position beneath the ocean, subject to centuries of erosion and tectonic activity, raises immediate questions. Are these features the product of natural geological forces, the work of human hands, or a combination of both? Geologists point to the volcanic origins of the Ryukyu Islands and the potential for natural tectonic activity to create sharp edges and terraces, arguing that much of Yonaguni's structure could have been formed by the Earth itself. Yet the patterning of certain features, the flatness of surfaces, the precision of right angles, and the alignment of platforms challenges conventional geological explanations. Some researchers note what appear to be steps, roads, and even a large rectangular stadium-like platform, all of which suggest planning and construction. Could an ancient society, now lost beneath the waves, have carved this monumental complex as a center of ritual, governance, or habitation? And if so, what was its purpose, and why was it ultimately abandoned or submerged? The timing of Yonaguni's submersion adds another layer of intrigue. Sea levels rose significantly following the end of the last ice age, approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. If the monument was indeed man-made, it would place it among the oldest known architectural endeavors in human history, predating the earliest civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Americas. This possibility challenges current understanding of prehistoric societies. Could humans of that era have possessed the organizational skill, tools, and vision to shape such a massive underwater complex? Or is it more likely that nature created the formation, and the human mind, eager for patterns and meaning, interprets deliberate design where randomness reigns? Exploration of the site has revealed intriguing features that hint at human intervention. Channels, depressions, and grooves within the stone resemble pathways or constructed water channels, and some surfaces appear to have been smoothed or shaped rather than merely fractured by tectonic activity. Certain pillars seem positioned to form corridors or enclosures, raising the possibility that the site once had social or ceremonial functions. Yet all evidence remains inconclusive, leaving room for debate, speculation, and fascination. The monument teeters on the boundary between natural formation and engineered structure, embodying the tension between certainty and mystery that defines so many of the world's most enigmatic sites. The Yonaguni Monument also invites reflection on the ephemeral nature of human achievement. Whether natural or man-made, it is a reminder of how landscapes evolve, how civilizations rise and fall, and how knowledge can be submerged, both literally and metaphorically, beneath the currents of time. If humans did create it, what became of the society capable of such construction? Did they succumb to rising seas, climatic shifts, or other cataclysms that erased them from history? And if nature sculpted it alone, what forces of the earth could produce geometry so precise, patterns so suggestive of intention that generations later observers still question its origin? Diving into the monument today, one is enveloped by a surreal stillness. The water filters sunlight into dim, greenish beams, illuminating terraces, overhangs, and angular plains. The silence is broken only by the rhythmic pulse of the ocean and the bubbles rising from a diver's regulator. Each perspective, the vertical drop of a wall, the flatness of a surface, the alignment of terraces, invites observation, measurement, and wonder. One cannot help but sense that whether human or natural, the formation holds secrets, a narrative encoded in stone that stretches back millennia, awaiting patient interpretation. Yonaguni endures as both monument and enigma, a site where earth, water, and perhaps human hands converge in forms that defy simple categorization. It challenges conventional understanding of prehistoric engineering, geological processes, and the interplay between humanity and nature. What truths remain hidden beneath the waves, obscured by centuries of sediment and current? Could it reveal a lost chapter of human history, a civilization submerged by rising seas, or does it testify instead to the astonishing artistry of geological forces? And ultimately, what can the Yonaguni Monument teach us about perception, pattern, and the persistent human drive to seek meaning in stone, even when the answers lie just out of reach? Diving into the monument today, one is enveloped by a surreal stillness. The water filters sunlight into dim, greenish beams, illuminating terraces, overhangs, and angular plains. The silence is broken only by the rhythmic pulse of the ocean and the bubbles rising from a diver's regulator. Each perspective, the vertical drop of a wall, the flatness of a surface, the alignment of terraces, invites observation, measurement, and wonder. One cannot help but sense that whether human or natural, the formation holds secrets, a narrative encoded in stone that stretches back millennia, awaiting patient interpretation. Yonaguni endures as both monument and enigma, a site where earth, water, and perhaps human hands converge in forms that defy simple categorization. It challenges conventional understanding of prehistoric engineering, geological processes, and the interplay between humanity and nature. What truths remain hidden beneath the waves, obscured by centuries of sediment and current? Could it reveal a lost chapter of human history, a civilization submerged by rising seas, or does it testify instead to the astonishing artistry of geological forces? And ultimately, what can the Yonaguni Monument teach us about perception, pattern, and the persistent human drive to seek meaning in stone, even when the answers lie just out of reach? From the sunken terraces of Yonaguni, where stone rises from the ocean depths to hint at civilizations or natural phenomena long obscured by time, our journey now returns to the arid landscapes of North Africa, where the desert stretches endlessly, interrupted only by the ruins of a city built with astonishing precision. Timgad. Founded in the 1st century CE under the reign of Emperor Trajan, this Roman outpost lies in what is now northeastern Algeria. Its grid-like streets, monumental arches, and well-planned urban layout offering a stark contrast to the chaotic forces of the surrounding Sahara. Yet beneath the apparent order of Timgad, mysteries linger, questions about its construction, purpose, and the traces of human life that have long since faded into dust. Approaching Timgad today, the city unfolds like a carefully composed map frozen in time. Its streets intersect at perfect right angles, forming a rectangular grid reminiscent of Roman colonies across the empire. Yet here, the scale impresses with a clarity and precision rarely achieved elsewhere. The Cardo Maximus, the central north-south street, stretches for nearly 2 kilometers, flanked by columns, remnants of porticos, and foundations of shops, homes, and civic buildings. Alongside the street, inscriptions and fragmented mosaics hint at a community that thrived, conducting commerce, worship, and daily life in meticulously organized spaces. The city's orientation and symmetry suggest not only a desire for efficiency and control, but also a deeper understanding of human movement, visual perspective, and spatial harmony. Timgad's founding in 100 CE was part of Trajan's broader strategy to consolidate Roman influence in North Africa, yet the site's location raises intriguing questions. Positioned on a plateau with access to fertile valleys and water sources, it balanced practicality with a sense of permanence. Some historians suggest the choice of location was strategic, intended to control local tribes and trade routes. But others propose that beyond its military and administrative functions, Timgad may have held symbolic significance. A model city representing Rome itself, a terrestrial projection of imperial order in a remote corner of the empire. Could the precision of its layout and the monumentality of certain structures reflect not only political authority, but also an aspiration to create harmony, to encode ideals of power, civilization, and cosmic order into urban form? The ruins themselves provide evidence of an advanced, yet largely vanished urban life. The Forum, the Capitolium, bath complexes, and theater illustrate a society deeply invested in civic and cultural expression. Yet there is more than architectural elegance here. The scale and precision of construction raise questions about labor organization and technical knowledge. Roman engineers, known for their expertise in surveying, hydraulics, and masonry, applied these skills with extraordinary consistency across Timgad. How did they coordinate thousands of laborers, ensure the precision of measurements, and integrate infrastructure such as aqueducts and drainage systems in a challenging desert environment? And could there be aspects of their planning, astronomical alignments, ritual symbolism, or geometric encoding, woven into the very grid that have gone unnoticed by modern scholars? One of Timgad's most enigmatic features is its monumental triumphal arch, known as the Arch of Trajan. Standing at the northern entrance, it frames the city with a sense of authority and grandeur. Yet the symbolism of its reliefs and inscriptions offers only partial insight into the ideology it conveyed. Some researchers suggest that the arch served not only as a gateway, but also as a deliberate stage for ceremonial processions, reinforcing the relationship between ruler, city, and citizen. Could its alignment with the main thoroughfare encode cosmic or temporal significance? Did the citizens of Timgad experience these structures as both practical architecture and profound symbols of imperial and cosmic order? The city's sudden decline, following the Vandal invasions and subsequent earthquakes, adds another layer to its mystery. Once a thriving urban center, Timgad was gradually abandoned, leaving behind streets, temples, and homes as silent witnesses to human ambition and vulnerability. Archaeological excavations reveal traces of daily life, from pottery shards and coins to mosaic fragments, yet much remains unresolved. Why was the city left to fade rather than rebuilt, as some contemporary settlements were? Did environmental shifts, political instability, or cultural transformation contribute to its desertion? And what stories of human experience, hope, struggle, devotion, remain trapped within its crumbling walls? From the meticulously planned streets of Timgad, a Roman city frozen in the sands of Algeria, where precision, geometry, and human ambition converge. Our journey now shifts eastward to the fertile plains of ancient Elam, in what is now southwestern Iran. Here rises one of the oldest and most enigmatic monumental structures of the ancient Near East, Choga Zanbil, a vast ziggurat built nearly 4,000 years ago, whose terraced levels and colossal scale evoke a civilization attuned to both the terrestrial and the divine. Even today, as sunlight casts elongated shadows across the decayed mud-brick terraces, the monument conveys a sense of intent, grandeur, and mystery, whispering across millennia about beliefs, power, and cosmic order. Approaching Choga Zanbil, one is immediately struck by its geometry and scale. The ziggurat was constructed as a massive stepped pyramid, rising from a square base that stretches roughly 105 meters on each side, culminating in a temple platform that once reached nearly 25 meters high. Its construction used hundreds of thousands of mud bricks, baked and unbaked, arranged with careful symmetry and precision. Surrounding the main ziggurat is a complex of smaller temples, courtyards, and sanctuaries, all enclosed within a fortified wall stretching over 1,500 meters. The layout suggests not only the monumental ambition of its builders, but also a carefully orchestrated interaction between sacred and secular spaces, guiding movement, sightlines, and ritual practice. Choga Zanbil was built under the reign of King Untash-Napirisha around 1250 BCE, during the apex of Elamite civilization. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt, which primarily served as tombs, Choga Zanbil functioned as a religious center dedicated to Inshushinak, the chief god of the Elamite pantheon. Its design reflects a sophisticated understanding of religious architecture, with each terrace, staircase, and temple serving a symbolic purpose. Some researchers suggest the ziggurat was intended to replicate the sacred mountain of the gods, creating a physical bridge between earth and the divine. Could the very act of ascending its terraces have been conceived as a spiritual journey, guiding priests and worshippers closer to the celestial realm with each step? The ziggurat's orientation and alignment add another layer of intrigue. Archaeological studies indicate that its corners and central axis may have been carefully positioned in relation to cardinal points or celestial phenomena. Sunlight and shadow would have shifted dramatically across its terraces at solstices and equinoxes, perhaps marking important ritual moments or emphasizing cosmic symbolism. Did the Elamites encode astronomical knowledge into the very geometry of their monuments? And if so, how might this knowledge have influenced their religious ceremonies, civic planning, or conception of time itself? The construction of Choga Zanbil presents questions that continue to puzzle modern engineers and archaeologists alike. The sheer volume of bricks, the coordination required to build terraces rising over 20 meters high, and the integration of drainage systems to combat seasonal flooding reflect remarkable technical skill. How did the Elamites transport, bake, and position such immense quantities of material? What techniques, lost to time, allowed them to maintain precision over such vast scales? And beyond engineering, what social and political structures must have existed to mobilize labor, organize resources, and sustain the monumental vision over decades? Archaeological excavations have revealed not only the ziggurat's architectural brilliance, but also the traces of ritual life. Within the surrounding temples, inscriptions, votive offerings, and ceremonial artifacts suggest a society deeply invested in maintaining cosmic harmony and divine favor. Some scholars argue that the ziggurat complex functioned as a kind of ritual city, where priests performed intricate ceremonies designed to stabilize the natural and social order. Could the ziggurat itself have been seen as a living symbol, a three-dimensional expression of theological concepts, or even a machine of divine communication? Its structure invites speculation about the interplay between power, belief, and architecture, in a civilization that left few written records compared to its contemporaries. Yet, for all its sophistication, Choga also embodies mystery. It was abandoned relatively quickly, within a century of its completion, following invasions by neighboring powers and changing political dynamics in the region. The abrupt cessation of use raises compelling questions. Why invest so heavily in a religious center, only to leave it to decay? Did environmental pressures, social upheaval, or divine interpretation play a role in its abandonment? And what knowledge, rituals, or technological insights may have been lost alongside the decline of the Elamite civilization? Comparisons with other megalithic and monumental sites worldwide deepen the intrigue. From the grids of Timgad to the submerged terraces of Yonaguni, from the sunken halls of the Osirian to the pyramids of Caral, humanity repeatedly demonstrates the impulse to shape space, encode meaning, and connect with forces larger than themselves. Yet Choga combination of religious symbolism, monumental scale, and architectural precision sets it apart. It is both functional and spiritual, a city within a structure, a human-made mountain that simultaneously dominates the landscape and draws the eye heavenward. How many secrets of ritual, engineering, or cosmology remain hidden within its mud-brick walls, terraces, and subterranean passages? Walking among the ruins today, one feels the weight of centuries pressing down with the desert wind, the faint outlines of temples and staircases evoking the movement of worshippers and priests long gone. The geometric clarity, the height of the terraces, and the interplay of sunlight and shadow create a sensory experience that resonates across millennia, offering a window into the mindset of a civilization that viewed stone not merely as material, but as medium. Each surface, each alignment, each fragmentary inscription invites observation, reflection, and wonder. Choga endures as both monument and mystery, a testament to human ambition, religious devotion, and technical mastery. It challenges modern observers to consider the sophistication of ancient urban planning, the integration of ritual and architecture, and the human capacity to encode meaning into space on a monumental scale. What remains hidden beneath terraces, within walls, or in the alignment of the ziggurat itself? Could further study reveal new insights into Elamite cosmology, ritual practice, or societal organization? And ultimately, what does this ancient structure teach us about the enduring human desire to reach beyond the earthly, to bridge the material and the divine, and to leave an imprint on the world that transcends the fleeting span of a single lifetime? From the vast mud-brick terraces of Choga, where human hands shaped stone and earth into sacred architecture, our journey moves across continents and oceans to the high-altitude plains of the Andes. Here, over 3,800 meters above sea level, stretches the enigmatic ceremonial complex of Tiwanaku, near the southern shore of Lake Titicaca in modern Bolivia. Rising from the windswept Altiplano, Tiwanaku commands the landscape with a presence that is both austere and profound. The low sun casts long shadows across its megalithic stones, and a sense of deliberate intention seems to emanate from every carefully placed block. Even today, the site resonates with the echoes of a civilization that flourished thousands of years ago, leaving behind a legacy of monumental architecture, artistic precision, and questions that continue to defy conclusive answers. Approaching Tiwanaku, the scale of human ambition is immediately apparent. The city's core is dominated by massive stone structures, many carved from andesite transported from quarries tens of kilometers away. Among them, the Akapana Pyramid, a terraced platform mound, rises in a broad, stepped silhouette, its terraces and canals suggesting a sophisticated understanding of both hydrology and ceremonial function. Nearby, the Kalasasaya Temple, with its precise stone walls and the famous Gateway of the Sun, reveals a mastery of astronomical alignment. Some researchers suggest that the placement of these structures allowed the Tiwanaku people to track solar movements, marking solstices, equinoxes, and other celestial phenomena. Could this integration of architecture and astronomy have served both practical agricultural purposes and symbolic cosmological ones? The engineering behind Tiwanaku continues to astonish. Stones weighing several tons were cut with astonishing precision, their surfaces polished, edges sharp, and joints so tight that even a thin blade cannot fit between them. How did the Tiwanaku people quarry, transport, and fit these megaliths in such a remote, high-altitude environment without the use of modern machinery? Some researchers suggest ramps, levers, and vast coordinated labor forces. Others propose methods now lost to history, techniques whose sophistication seems almost disproportionate to what is known of their contemporaneous technological context. Could there have been specialized knowledge of stone cutting, surveying, or even mechanical advantage that has simply disappeared from the historical record? Tiwanaku's monumental artistry further deepens the mystery. The Gateway of the Sun, carved from a single block of stone, is adorned with intricate bas-reliefs depicting figures, symbols, and what some interpret as celestial bodies. The central figure, often referred to as the sun god, is surrounded by flanking deities, each holding staffs or other ritual implements. Archaeologists debate whether these carvings encode calendrical information, cosmological concepts, or mythological narratives. Could the gateway have functioned as a calendar, a religious altar, or a symbolic portal between earthly and divine realms? And if so, how much knowledge, astronomical, spiritual, or social, was embedded in its form and orientation? The urban planning of Tiwanaku hints at a society highly attuned to both environment and symbolism. The city's layout aligns streets, canals, and plazas along precise axes, and water features such as raised fields and ceremonial pools demonstrate an understanding of irrigation and agriculture suited to the challenging highland environment. Yet there is an enigmatic quality to the placement of structures, suggesting intentions beyond mere functionality. Did the city's layout encode sacred geography or reflect a cosmological vision, linking human activity to celestial cycles and the rhythms of the natural world? And if so, how consciously was this knowledge communicated to the population, and how much remained restricted to priests, rulers, or specialists? Archaeological excavations reveal another layer of complexity. Burials, ceremonial offerings, and remnants of textiles and ceramics indicate a culture rich in ritual and social organization. Yet much remains uncertain. Tiwanaku appears to have reached its zenith between 500 and 900 CE, after which decline sets in, reasons that remain debated. Was it environmental stress, climatic change, societal upheaval, or a combination of factors that led to abandonment? And what of the knowledge, techniques, and traditions that were left behind? Some speculate that later Andean civilizations, including the Incas, inherited fragments of Tiwanaku's architectural and ritual practices, yet the full depth of its influence remains opaque. The monumental stones themselves seem to invite reflection. Many display evidence of interlocking construction, where complex joints and precise angles create stability without mortar. Could such techniques have been designed to withstand seismic activity, a common occurrence in the Andes? Or was there a symbolic significance to the meticulous interweaving of stone, a metaphor for social cohesion, spiritual order, or cosmic balance? Everywhere one looks, the stones appear deliberate, each placement purposeful, and each terrace or wall a canvas of cultural memory stretching across generations. Tiwanaku also engages with the imagination through its monumental scale and the sheer labor required to construct it. From quarry to terrace, from ritual pool to gateway, every element reflects careful calculation, resource coordination, and social organization. How did a pre-industrial society marshal labor and expertise to achieve such architectural feats? Were there forms of knowledge, practical, ritual, or even esoteric that guided construction and spatial design? And how much of that knowledge has been irrevocably lost to time, leaving only stones, shadows, and fragments of ritual as testimony? Walking through Tiwanaku today, one is enveloped by the high-altitude air, the crystalline sunlight, and the profound silence of a site long abandoned. The terraces of the Akapana, the aligned walls of Kalasasaya, and the carved figures of the Gateway of the Sun evoke not only awe, but also a contemplative curiosity. Every stone seems to ask questions of the observer, about the people who built it, the cosmology they embraced, and the meaning encoded in spatial relationships and symbolic imagery. The scale, the precision, and the artistry provoke reflection on human ambition, ingenuity, and the desire to connect with forces larger than ourselves. Tiwanaku endures as both monument and enigma, a testament to architectural mastery, societal organization, and spiritual aspiration. It challenges modern observers to reconsider assumptions about ancient highland civilizations, their technological capabilities, and their understanding of the cosmos. What remains hidden within the terraces, stones, and ceremonial centers? How much of its symbolic, astronomical, and ritual knowledge is still encoded in the landscape? And ultimately, what can Tiwanaku teach us about the human drive to leave a lasting imprint on the world? A legacy that bridges earth, sky, and the mysteries of existence itself? From the high-altitude terraces and megalithic stones of Tiwanaku, where the Andean winds sweep across ancient ceremonial platforms and the precise alignment of architecture hints at celestial knowledge, our journey now descends to the lush lowlands of eastern Mexico. Here, amidst rolling hills and dense vegetation, lies a city whose pyramids, plazas, and ball courts speak of a culture that mastered both art and engineering. El Tajin. Unlike the sun-baked stones of the Andes, El Tajin rises from fertile, humid terrain, its buildings constructed from carefully cut limestone, their surfaces etched with intricate reliefs, stepped motifs, and symbolic carvings that shimmer in the tropical light. As the wind rustles through its plazas and terraces, one cannot help but feel that the city itself hums with the echoes of ancient rituals, festivals, and knowledge long concealed beneath layers of time. Approaching El Tajin, the first feature to arrest the eye is the Pyramid of the Niches, a structure so distinct that it has become emblematic of the city itself. Its stepped facade, punctuated by 365 niches, is remarkable not merely for architectural ingenuity, but for the subtlety of its design. The number of niches has long invited speculation. Could they represent the solar calendar, the rhythm of seasons, or some other cosmological schema? Each niche casts a delicate shadow that shifts throughout the day, creating a dynamic interplay of light and stone that may have been intended to mark the passage of time, signal ceremonial moments, or even serve as a form of encoded communication with the heavens. The precision of this design, especially in an era devoid of modern surveying instruments, continues to challenge our understanding of Mesoamerican engineering and astronomical observation. El Tajin's layout reveals an extraordinary command of urban planning, particularly given the scale and density of the city at its height, roughly between 600 and 1200 CE. The central ceremonial precinct is a carefully orchestrated ensemble of plazas, pyramids, and ball courts, all oriented along axes that may reflect solar or topographical considerations. Streets intersect with apparent intention, guiding movement, sightlines, and ritual processions. Water features and drainage systems, ingeniously integrated into the cityscape, suggest that the builders not only understood the tropical climate, but also manipulated it to serve both functional and ceremonial purposes. How did a society, operating without metal tools or wheeled transport, achieve such precision on such a scale? and how much of their design was purely practical versus symbolic, encoding social hierarchy, religious doctrine, or cosmological principles into the very bones of the city. The ball courts of El Tajin, numerous and varied in size, add another dimension to the mystery. Far from being mere athletic arenas, they were likely sites of ritual significance, ceremonies, and social cohesion. Carved reliefs along their walls depict intricate scenes of sacrifice, dancers, and deities, blending mythological narrative with historical memory. Some scholars suggest that the ball game itself was more than sport, a ritualized enactment of cosmic struggle, a reenactment of creation myths, or a performance designed to harmonize human action with divine order. Yet the precise rules, significance, and intended audience of these games remain enigmatic, lost to time along with the society that orchestrated them. Could the ball courts, positioned relative to temples, plazas, and pyramids, have functioned as instruments of celestial observation, aligning with solstices, equinoxes, or planetary movements? The artistry of El Tajin is equally compelling. Bas-reliefs and friezes adorn temples, palaces, and stairways, depicting figures with elaborate headdresses, flowing garments, and stylized features. Among the most enigmatic motifs are the recurring volador figures, humans seemingly descending from above, often accompanied by elaborate geometric patterns. Scholars debate their meaning. Do they depict mythic narratives, shamanic journeys, or allegorical representations of cosmological principles? The sheer consistency and sophistication of these motifs suggest a deeply codified visual language, understood by initiates or elites, yet enigmatic to outsiders. How much of this symbolic system has been decoded, and how much remains intentionally obscured by time and cultural transformation? Construction techniques at El Tajin also raise intriguing questions. The limestone blocks were carefully cut and fitted, their surfaces often smoothed and decorated before assembly. Terraces, stairways, and platforms exhibit an understanding of load distribution and stability, especially important in a region prone to seasonal rains and earthquakes. Could these builders have had access to practical knowledge now lost, techniques honed over generations, or perhaps insights into the structural behavior of stone that surpass what modern scholars can easily replicate? And beyond engineering, what social organization and labor management systems allowed a city of this magnitude to rise, sustain itself, and flourish over centuries? El Tajin's rapid decline around the 13th century further deepens the enigma. Unlike other Mesoamerican sites, which were continuously inhabited or reoccupied, El Tajin appears to have been abandoned, leaving behind streets, pyramids, and temples in remarkable preservation. Scholars debate the causes: environmental change, resource depletion, social upheaval, or perhaps political conflict, but certainty remains elusive. Was this abandonment sudden or gradual? Did the knowledge encoded in the city's architecture, art, and ceremonial spaces vanish with its people? Or was it transmitted to other emerging cultures in the region? And what stories, beliefs, and practices linger still, silently inscribed in stone, waiting for modern observers to decipher? Walking through the ruins today, the sensory experience is striking. The warm tropical light illuminates the stepped terraces of pyramids, the intricate carvings of temple walls, and the expanse of ceremonial plazas. The air carries the rustle of foliage and the distant hum of insects, providing a quiet counterpoint to the once vibrant activity that filled these spaces. Each structure, each relief, each niche appears deliberate, imbued with meaning both practical and symbolic. Observers are compelled to ask not only how the city was built, but why it was built in this particular way, in this particular place, and with this particular integration of art, astronomy, and ritual. El Tajin resonates as more than an archaeological site. It is a testament to human ingenuity, spiritual ambition, and the capacity to impose order on both environment and society. It challenges modern understanding of Mesoamerican civilization, engineering, and cosmology, inviting reflection on the interplay between human action and natural forces, between ritual practice and urban planning, and between the ephemeral and the enduring. How much knowledge about astronomy, ritual, and social structure remains hidden within the architecture, the reliefs, and the city's layout? What mysteries are encoded in the light that moves across the pyramid of the niches, or in the geometry of streets, plazas, and ceremonial spaces? And ultimately, what can El Tajin teach us about the enduring human impulse to connect with the cosmos, to shape our surroundings with meaning, and to leave an imprint on the world that persists far beyond the lives of those who created it? Even now, as the city sits partially reclaimed by vegetation and softened by centuries of tropical weather, the structures of El Tajin evoke a sense of awe and curiosity. The pyramid of the niches, the temple platforms, the ball courts, and the intricate reliefs form a complex narrative in stone, one that blends science, spirituality, and society. Every terrace, every carved figure, every alignment of plaza or pyramid seems to ask questions of the observer, inviting reflection on human ingenuity, cultural memory, and the mysteries that endure when civilizations vanish. And as we gaze across the ruins, one cannot help but wonder, what remains hidden, just beyond perception, in shadows and niches, waiting to reveal secrets of knowledge, power, and belief that modern understanding has yet to uncover? El Tajin stands as a reminder that human ambition is not merely material. It is also symbolic, spiritual, and intellectual. The city's planning, art, and ritual structures challenge assumptions about prehistoric and early historic societies, compelling us to consider how ancient peoples encoded meaning into their built environment, aligned their lives with cosmic rhythms, and expressed identity, authority, and faith through stone. What lessons might the city still hold for those willing to observe carefully, question deeply, and embrace the mysteries that continue to linger in every terrace, every niche, and every carved face of this remarkable city?